The braided girl offers to pay her own tuition as her father hopes for luck. A pink-haired woman carefully inspects a small antique through a wooden telescope. The appraiser asks the source of the coin as the man describes a past rescue. Her vibrant purple eyes narrow as she makes a startling realization about the golden object. Startled, the gray-haired man confirms her deduction and asks how she possibly knew. She declines the purchase, returning the metal as the man's secret suspicions are validated. With an excited shout, the pink-haired woman urges the pair not to keep it. She suggests an auction house, revealing the coin is worth 10 million gold. The pair offers profuse thanks while the appraiser politely invites them to return again. Gossiping ladies admire the appraiser's honesty while mentioning that high-ranking imperial figures visit. A sudden spray of tea erupts as she hears rumors of her own prestigious reputation. The ladies request to see abandoned treasures, but she explains the famous guests rarely trade. The three women wonder if the imperial visitors are merely being a nuisance. The appraiser reflects on her past to explain how these perceived nuisances changed everything. The scene shifts back in time to the beginning of her narratives. Memories of a tragic past life and her eventual death begin to resurface. Alicia recalls her first life spent living peacefully in a small home with her grandfather. A young Alicia enters to find Count Hugo visiting her grandfather for a private meeting. Count Hugo introduces himself as a relative, prompting Alicia to question her noble connections. The Count takes her hand, offering hospital care in exchange for her cooperation. Alicia clarifies if her signature is the only requirement to ensure her grandfather's recovery. Scattered documents reveal her grandfather suffered from a rare disease that slowly eroded his memories. Count Hugo emphasizes the high cost of care while her grandfather's mind continues to fade. Alicia watches her grandfather helplessly, desperate to believe the Count's promise of a cure. Believing she has found a savior, Alicia hands over the final signed document. Alicia asks to see her grandfather, but the Count's expression turns cold and mocking. The Count laughs at her confusion, signaling the trap has finally been sprung. Hugo reveals the deception, announcing her immediate and permanent exile from the Empire. Alicia is struck by a wave of shock as she is driven from her home. Cast out and broken, Alicia is cornered by thugs in a dark imperial alleyway. A sharp whistle pierces the air as the criminals scramble away from the patrol. Lying among discarded papers, Alicia reflects on the suffering she endured for her grandfather. Even in her final moments, she desperately protects the red necklace her grandfather gave her. Alicia lies weakened in the cold alley, reaching for a stray newspaper as hope fades. Her eyes widen in horror as she reads a headline that shatters her entire world. Newspaper clippings confirm that former Duke Michelle Piochadad Lionette died in a slum fire. Crying over the news, Alicia realizes her grandfather is gone and the family is ruined. She mourns her own foolishness, realizing the Count deceived her to steal the Duke's legacy. Alicia prays to the World Tree, wishing to turn back time and save her grandfather. A dark, textured void follows as an unknown voice mutters nearby. A sudden flash of light signals Alicia's unexpected return to the world of the living. Alicia sits up in bed, breathless as she recognizes her old bedroom from the past. She sprints through the house, screaming for her grandfather as she searches every room. Alicia bursts through the door, startling the white-haired man sitting by the fireplace. She stops and stares in disbelief, unable to believe her grandfather is standing before her. The white-haired man stares back at her with a look of pure, stunned confusion. He scolds her for shouting and asks why she is acting so strangely. Alicia begins to sob with relief, confirmed that this version of her grandfather is real. "Wah!" Alicia cries out as she lunges to embrace her bewildered grandfather. Through tears of joy, Alicia realizes that she has truly returned to save him. Alicia grips her grandfather's shoulders, frantically asking for today's date as he stares back in confusion. She quickly grabs the calendar, leaving her grandfather puzzled by her sudden and erratic behavior. She realizes only 3 days remain until the fateful event that ruined her previous life. Alicia vows to protect her grandfather, the pawnshop, and her future from those who would steal it. 3 days later, Alicia diligently paints the house, preparing for the arrival of her enemies. Spotting Count Hugo approaching with his subordinate, Alicia prepares her trap and readies her hidden pen. Hugo asks for Michelle, but Alicia claims he is in the hospital, thanking him for visiting. Alicia directs the men to the yard, claiming the interior paint is still wet to keep them outside. Hugo presents the documents, deceptively urging her to sign so her grandfather can receive medical treatment. Alicia agrees to sign the contract while she secretly secures her specialized pen back onto her belt. She waves them inside while Hugo mocks her perceived naivete, unaware he has walked into a trap. Hugo orders his subordinate to search the house as he triumphantly reviews the freshly signed documents. A look of sheer frozen terror washes over Hugo's face as he realizes something is horribly wrong. He screams out in shock, finding that the golden opportunity he planned has turned into a nightmare. Hugo panics as the signatures vanish, realizing the property transfer documents are now legally worthless. Text reveals the house is collateral for a massive, high-interest debt totaling 30 million gold pieces. Horrified by the interest rate, Hugo collapses into a chair as the weight of the debt settles in. His subordinate reports that the house is empty, confirming that their target has completely disappeared. A flashback reveals Elisha visited a moneylender days ago to take out a maximum interest loan. The moneylender is stunned by her request for 30 million gold using the house as collateral. Alicia demands the money immediately, slamming her bag down to prove she is not joking around. This guard man warns her about the predatory interest rate, but Alicia remains completely unfazed. She insists on the maximum rate, smiling because she knows Hugo will be forced to pay it. The moneylender finds her audacity intriguing, ultimately agreeing to the deal with the daring young girl. The scene shifts to a grand sunlit estate where Elisha has secured a safe haven. A maid confirms a high-grade hospital room is ready for her grandfather within the prestigious grounds. Alicia emphasizes that her grandfather's identity and medical information must be kept strictly confidential. The maid solemnly swears to protect the secret, ensuring Elisha's grandfather is safe from the count. Watching her grandfather rest, Alicia promises him that no one will ever harm him again. In the present, Hugo trembles with rage, cursing Elisha as he realizes he has been played. His furious scream echoes across the distant mountains, startling a flock of birds into the air. From her new residence, Alicia sips tea while imagining the Count's inevitable and deserved breakdown. She decides it is finally time to return to Ashen Street and reclaim her grandfather's pawnshop. Within the palace, officials report that they have found traces of a thief who stole a treasure. A soldier informs his superior that the suspect was last seen near the shops on Ashen Street. The red-eyed Imperial commander notes that a pawnshop is the perfect place to hide stolen goods. Alicia works at her desk, meticulously planning the next steps for her new life and business. Her notes outline her core goals: rebuild the pawnshop and find a cure for her grandfather. Clutching her grandfather's necklace, she draws strength from her heritage to face the challenges ahead. Alicia stands before the dusty pawnshop, broom in hand, ready to begin the work of restoration. A series of small moments show her hard at work, cleaning and organizing the old shop. She reflects that finishing the initial cleanup marks the true beginning of her fresh start. Alicia walks confidently through the streets, carrying a document to finalize her business registration. A sharp, heavy thud sounds as a large official seal is forcefully pressed onto her paperwork. The application is stamped with a cold red rejection, stalling her plans for the pawnshop. Alicia is shocked, demanding to know why her perfect business and appraisal plans were turned down. The white-haired official mocks her, doubting a young girl can survive the harsh business of Ashen Street. Alicia defends her skills, prompting the woman to test her appraisal abilities with 2 mysterious boxes. Determined to prove her worth, Alicia enters the testing area to demonstrate her professional expertise. Alicia carefully inspects a blue gemstone through a magnifying lens, starting the test with quiet confidence. Alicia carefully inspects a blue gemstone, starting the appraisal test with quiet and focused confidence. Alicia evaluates the first sapphire and offers a purchase price of exactly 1.5 million gold. The pink-haired girl sets the gemstone down with a quick soft tap sounding on the wooden tether. The white-haired official smiles to herself, satisfied that Alicia's high offer has seemingly confirmed her suspicions. Helena reveals she bought the stone for less, arguing Alicia should have offered a much lower percentage. The official asks if Alicia truly believed that overpaying for an item would earn her personal favor. Madame Helena scolds the girl, warning that playing favorites is no way to conduct a professional business. Ignoring the official's angry outbursts, Alicia continues rummaging through her things until she finally finds her proof. Alicia holds up a newspaper and asks Madame Helena if she has seen today's latest market news. The newspaper report confirms a major mine depletion, meaning the sapphire's market value will soon skyrocket. Alicia explains she could have lowballed the price, but doing so would have permanently damaged their relationship. Alicia notes that if she had been dishonest, Helena would never trust the pawnshop enough to return. Moving to the second box, Alicia reveals that the other gemstone provided for the test is a fake. Taken aback, the white-haired official demands to know exactly how Alicia intends to prove such a claim. Alicia points out the unnatural color and notes the certificate is from a business that closed years ago. She highlights that since the certificate date is recent despite the office being closed, it is clearly forged. Helena begins to sweat as Alicia dismisses the attempt as a very common and amateurish appraisal trick. Based on her thorough analysis, Alicia estimates the item's true value to be over 2 million gold. Madame Helena sighs and admits that Alicia has prepared remarkably well for this difficult professional test. With a polite bow, Alicia emphasizes that maintaining a customer's trust is always her highest professional priority. Smiling warmly, Helena officially approves the reopening of the Lionette Pawnshop, signaling a victory for the girl. A loud, firm thud sounds as the official seal is pressed onto the final business registration documents. Alicia stands in the bright sunlight, shielding her eyes while admiring the fresh start of her business. After a long day, an exhausted Alicia collapses at her desk, relieved the reopening was so successful. Alicia reflects on how her consignment strategy allowed her to stock high-quality items without spending much cash. She celebrates her perfect plan, realizing that everything is finally falling into place for her new shop. Looking around the busy shop, Alicia thinks about how happy her grandfather would be to see this. Stretching after a long day, Alicia is suddenly distracted by the faint, cooling scent of peppermint nearby. A mysterious voice praises her booming business, causing Alicia to stop in her tracks with a start. Alicia looks toward the window, wondering if the dark-haired man smoking outside has been watching her all day. Turning toward her guest, Alicia politely asks if there is anything she can help him with this evening. The scarred man asks if she is the owner, mockingly noting that she looks easy to push around. Alicia smiles politely while privately noting that the stranger's golden eye color is quite mysterious and striking. The man asks if she deals in people, prompting a shocked and confused reaction from the young appraiser. Leaning in with a confident smirk, the stranger bluntly asks Alicia to buy him from the street. Alicia immediately rejects the ridiculous proposal, stating that her pawnshop also deals in basic common sense. As Alicia moves to close, the man reveals he is actually searching for a specific, high-quality sword. Alicia explains that weapons are stored upstairs and offers to bring down some options for him to inspect. The man describes a jewel-encrusted hilt and a worn blade, prompting Alicia to ask for more specific details. Alicia freezes as she realizes exactly what kind of item the mysterious man is actually looking for. Alicia firmly states he has come to the wrong place because she refuses to deal in stolen goods. The scarred man mocks her confidence, asking how a simple girl could possibly tell the difference so easily. Alicia explains that she uses documentation to verify items, but she also possesses a far more intuitive skill. Alicia recalls her childhood, remembering how she first began to understand the hidden stories behind every cherished object. She explains that she can sense the owner's feelings and the deep reasons they have for pawning treasures. The man dismisses her intuition, coldly stating that anyone can simply fabricate a tragic sob story for profit. The stranger asks if she fears being fooled, but Alicia admits she worries about it every single day. She uses the analogy of locks to argue that a thief's success is not the fault of the victim. Alicia vows to cooperate fully with any investigation if a stolen item ever manages to bypass her scrutiny. Staring him down, Alicia tells the scarred man she will only listen to his advice once he catches his thief. Alicia reflects on the man's aggressive attitude and suspicions, feeling a strange sense of déjà vu. Alicia asks if he is from the Principality of Moro, causing the black-haired man to flinch. Alter asks why she thinks that, prompting Alicia to mention rumors about the pawnshops in Moro. A flashback reveals Alicia once looked for a job at a pawnshop while living in Moro. The narration explains that pawnshops in Moro were hubs for smuggling, money laundering, and human trafficking. Alter aggressively demands to know where she heard that story, making Alicia suspect a guilty conscience. Alicia wonders if he is a criminal from Moro, testing her to see if she would collaborate. Deciding it is time to kick him out, Alicia calls out to the man with firm intent. Alicia strikes a cute pose as a burst of laughter echoes through the flower-filled background. A sudden shock resonates as Alter reacts with confusion to the girl's sudden and bizarre behavior. She teases him about love at first sight, though he wonders how she reached that conclusion. A sharp, clear ting sounds as Alicia points out his constant and useless personal questions. Alicia shakes her head and states that he cannot monopolize her since she has a popular face. Alicia suggests she might show him a bit of consideration while tapping her head in thought. A quick, decisive snap sounds as Alicia makes a grand, welcoming gesture with a bright smile. He lets out a small, dry chuckle as she promises to contact him first regarding weapons. A soft, sliding rustle sounds while Alter reaches into his pocket to retrieve a business card. Alter hands the card over to Alicia and offers a polite word of thanks for her help. Alicia waves him off with a high-pitched squeal, reminding him that being pretty does not mean he can visit every day. A crackling, static sound buzzes as Alter stands outside and the scene confirms his name. She speaks in a low, quiet murmur, admiring the name on the card amidst floral patterns. Static crackles in the air again as Alter reflects on her comment about his pretty name. A promotional page displays various Manhwa series alongside recruitment information for editors and translators. A decorative title card introduces the name Ivor, set against a dark and ornamental background. A flashback shows Ivor, a green-haired mage who single-handedly caught a notorious arsonist in Moro. Ivor's skill earned him a position as a magical consultant serving the Duchy of Moro. The mage gained the people's trust and a stellar reputation until he vanished with a relic. The scene fades to gray, noting that Ivor stole a holy relic and disappeared overnight. A wide view shows a sunlit city with a bright blue canal stretching between grand buildings. An official informs the red-eyed commander that the pawnshop owner spoke the truth under influence. Alter states it is impossible because their tracking artifact proves that Ivor definitely visited the pawnshop. The subordinate excitedly concludes the pawnshop is a source Ivor uses for laundering stolen money. He lets out a sharp, frustrated grunt, wondering why the woman's statement read as the truth. Elisha's purple eye is shown in close-up as she reflects on the name of her guest. The red-eyed commander decides he must personally investigate the second floor of the Lionette pawnshop. Her heels click rhythmically on the ground as Elisha walks through the streets of the district. A bright, clear chime sounds as Alicia enters a shop where a voice welcomes her. Emma, a mage with pale green hair, holds a box and confirms she finished the task. A sharp metallic click sounds as Emma opens the box to reveal 2 glowing crystal vials. Emma asks Elisha where she intends to use the powerful worst memory spell she just bought. Alicia holds the box with a confident smile, stating that she has her own specific uses. A soft, swirling motion follows as Alicia vows to make Hugo cry during their next meeting. His footsteps patter nervously on the floor as Hugo worries about being watched by Duke Michel. A rapid thumping run approaches as a subordinate reports that Duke Michel is not at the pawnshop. Hugo is relieved, deciding to use this opportunity to properly crush Alicia Lionette once and for all. A heavy, metallic clank sounds as Hugo prepares to scare Elisha into listening to him. A sudden, booming crash echoes through the air as Hugo forcefully kicks the shop door open. A sharp hissing sound rises as Hugo stomps forcefully into the room, calling the girl a fraud. A delicate porcelain clink sounds as Elisha offers tea, but Hugo furiously tells her to stop. Hugo points aggressively at the tea and demands that Elisha be the one to drink it first. Smiling mockingly, Hugo asks Alicia why she hesitates to drink the tea if it's perfectly fine. Alicia drinks the tea in one go, leaving the purple-haired man completely stunned and speechless. Elisha explains that after being scolded for past neglect, she prepared this tea specifically for guests. Hugo stands frozen in shock as he processes the girl's sudden and entirely unexpected display of hospitality. A memory surfaces of Duke Michel commanding Elisha to always have a tea-based weapon ready to throw. Alicia notes her soft heart prevents her from throwing it, making the Count ask who scolded her. Terrified, Hugo realizes that the fearsome Duke Michel might actually be present inside the pawnshop building. A sudden, loud noise causes the purple-haired man to scream in absolute terror and confusion. A massive booming thud resonates through the shop, signaling a powerful and impending presence nearby. Alicia calmly asks what is wrong while Hugo trembles at the sound of heavy, rhythmic footsteps. Another thunderous, ground-shaking impact echoes, deepening the intense atmosphere of dread within the room. In a childhood memory, a young Hugo watches nervously as a heavy training gate begins opening. Duke Michel is shown wielding a massive, spiky mace with terrifying and overwhelming physical power. The Duke single-handedly crushes a line of armored soldiers, demonstrating his legendary and brutal combat skill. Michel lets out a deafening roar, demanding to know the identity of the person approaching him. The young boy is completely paralyzed by fear, overwhelmed by the Duke's raw and monstrous energy. Present-day Alicia observes Hugo shaking and confirms that her grandfather is indeed his worst nightmare. Alicia teases him about the Duke's anger, making the terrified Count sweat even more profusely. She relays a thread about returning a painting, manifesting a terrifying, glowing image of the Duke. A sudden, booming voice demands an identity, causing Hugo to jump in a frantic, screaming panic. Hugo flees the shop at full speed, promising to return the Forest of Colonia painting immediately. Quiet returns to the shop interior, the morning light illuminating the shelves and apothecary jars. A small, mocking snicker escapes Alicia's lips as she enjoys the success of her scheme. Alicia celebrates the memory spell's success, praising Emma for providing such a perfect and effective tool. She reveals that she predicted Hugo's suspicion and drank holy water to neutralize the spell's effects. Visual diagrams explain how mana and holy power act as erasers, canceling each other out perfectly. Alicia laments the high cost of the holy water, hoping she won't need it often. Holding a vial, the pink-haired girl feels relieved that her elaborate deception worked so flawlessly. Alicia reflects on her own painful past, admitting that some memories are better left forgotten. Under the full moon, Alter crouches on the pawnshop roof, preparing for a secret infiltration. A soft clicking sound marks the moment the black-haired man successfully unlocks the window latch. Alter wonders if his torture mages were thorough as he surveys the dark shop interior. The red-eyed commander slips inside the pawnshop, moving with the quiet grace of a predator. The moonlight filters through the windows, casting long shadows across the empty second-floor landing. Alter scans the room carefully, his sharp eyes searching for any sign of the missing relic. Hanging bundles of dried herbs rustle slightly in the draft as Alter continues his silent investigation. The black-haired man remains vigilant, moving deeper into the shadows of the apothecary-filled room. Alter concludes that the artifact is not hidden on this floor after a thorough search. He checks his glowing wrist accessory, noting that the clip shows no reaction to the surroundings.
Alter decides to move his search to the first floor, suspecting the target is hidden there.
He descends the stairs rapidly, reasoning that the thief must have remained on the lower level. Alter intends to check the ledger, certain that Ivor must have left some trace of business. A sudden, soft rustle stops Alter in his tracks, causing him to tense for a confrontation. The commander draws a sharp breath as he discovers an unexpected figure in the dark room. Alter initially fears Elisha has fainted on her desk until he hears her steady, rhythmic breathing. He realizes she is merely fast asleep, her head resting directly on the shop's important ledger. Alter looks down at the girl, finding her choice of a pillow to be incredibly unusual. A small smirk appears on his face as he mockingly praises her unconventional security strategy. Alter notices a series of notes addressed to him, mockingly guiding him toward the kitchen instead. A final note challenges his suspicious nature and invites him to find a present in the drawer. The note reveals a surprise treat, mockingly offering the intruder candy as a strange, taunting gift. Alter's sharp red eye narrows slightly as he processes the girl's bizarre and entirely unexpected sense of humor. He stands bewildered while the girl sleepily begs someone not to take her away during a nightmare. A look of quiet, uncharacteristic soft contemplation crosses his face as he watches the sleeping pawnshop owner. The pink-haired girl whimpers for her grandfather while resting her head directly on the shop's important ledger. Alter remains motionless, listening to her vulnerable murmurs as the moon shines brightly through the shop windows. Sunlight washes over the grand city buildings as a new morning begins at the Lionette Pawnshop. Alicia stretches her arms wide over her head, letting out a long, groggy yawn after her nap. She notes that her dreams were a total mess and wonders if the memory magic affected her. A sudden realization startles the girl, making her purple eyes go wide with absolute shock and confusion. Alicia wonders why a specific item is sitting in the shop when it belongs in the attic. She carefully picks up a delicate petal, noting its misplaced and unexpected presence within her workspace. Alicia determines she must be more thorough with her cleaning while leaning over the heavy, dark ledger. A bright chime sounds as Alicia offers a cheerful welcome to her very first morning customer. A mysterious figure draped in a heavy black cloak enters the shop, moving with quiet, hesitant steps. Alicia panics internally, wondering if the Grim Reaper has finally come to audit her life choices after regression. The guest nervously asks for confirmation that this building is indeed a functioning and professional pawnshop. Relief washes over the girl as she confirms it is, thankful she is facing a person, not death. The guest asks for an appraisal, and Alicia professionally invites her to present whatever item she brought. A pale hand reaches into the dark folds of the cloak to retrieve a hidden and valuable treasure. A brilliant blue pendant is revealed, casting a soft, ethereal glow throughout the dim pawnshop interior. The intricate silver filigree holds a large, shimmering gem that sparkles with intense and magical energy. Alicia is completely stunned, her mouth hanging open as she calculates the pendant's incredible and immense value. Her heart races as she recognizes the shimmering object and suspects it might be a holy relic. Smiling politely, Alicia asks the guest for any official authentication certificates or a warranty for the gem. A nervous silence follows as the guest admits to having no records, receipts, or auction information. The cloaked guest admits her uncertainty regarding the pendant's history, causing the shopkeeper to pause and reflect. She desperately asks if the gem alone is insufficient for a trade without the proper ownership paperwork. Alicia begins to worry that she is dealing with stolen property belonging to an influential noble family. She recalls a scarred man warning her that they never handle stolen goods at their professional establishment. The memory of the man's scoffing challenge about her ability to judge a customer's character resurfaces. Alicia shakes her head, trusting her intuition that the nervous guest standing before her is not a thief. Pouring a drink, she reasons that a criminal would have tried to dump the item immediately without appraisal. The shopkeeper gently asks for the story behind the gem while placing a glass of water down. The cloaked guest reminisces about how much genuine happiness the pendant brought her when she first received it. Alicia notes the guest's expensive ring, concluding she is a noble who might be in desperate need. The guest reveals that people are trying to snatch it, prompting Elisha's immediate and concerned inquiry. She explains her uncle claims she has no right to own it, her hands trembling with visible fear. Alicia clarifies they aren't a storage service, but the guest insists she heard it was safe here. The guest acknowledges the gem could be sold, making Alicia wonder why she would part with it. The guest states her only goal is to keep the treasure far away from her uncle's reach. Her green eyes reveal her fear as she begs Alicia to sell it only to someone truly worthy. With a serious expression, Alicia firmly declares that she will not go through with this specific trade. The guest's heart sinks as she asks what she should do if the shop rejects her offer. Decorative floral patterns frame Alicia's internal refusal to profit from something the girl clearly cherishes so much. Alicia inspects the pendant closely with a magnifying glass, admiring its perfect and entirely unblemished silver condition. She observes that the treasure is absolutely flawless, lacking even a single scratch from its long history. Alicia smiles warmly and tells the guest that she should be the one to continue protecting it. The cloaked girl fidgets nervously, fearing that keeping the item will only lead to her uncle stealing it. She asks if Alicia will hold it, though Alicia reiterates they never just provide storage for valuables. Rena asks to use her pendant as security for a loan, wondering how much she can receive. A sharp tuck sounds as Alicia offers a single gold coin for the valuable green gem. Alicia explains the 3-month loan term but waives the interest because the amount is so small. Rena agrees to the deal, promising to return later to settle her debt and reclaim the pendant. Alicia asks for the guest's name to record the transaction in the shop's important ledger. The girl reveals her name is Rena as Alicia finishes writing the entry in the book. A bell rings ting as the visitor departs, hoping to see the shopkeeper again very soon. Alicia reflects on her choice to lend so little for an item worth tens of millions. She safely stores the gem away, noting its value to Rena is truly beyond any price. A heavy downpour begins to fall, obscuring the view of the city buildings through the window. Alicia sighs as she watches the empty, rain-soaked road, noting that no one is walking by. A figure in a white cloak appears through the rain, approaching the entrance of the pawnshop. Alicia excitedly rushes toward the door, eager to welcome another potential customer for the morning. The pink-haired girl lets out a bright, cheerful welcome as she greets her newest morning visitor. The silver-haired guest stops in his tracks, looking at Alicia with a surprised and curious expression. He identifies her as Michelle's granddaughter, noting the strong family resemblance the girl possesses. Alicia asks if he truly thinks she looks like her grandfather while the wet guest enters. The man explains that Michelle used to talk about her constantly before he left the shop. Shivering from the cold, he asks to come inside because the rain chilled him to the bone. Water drips from his hair as the silver-haired man removes his hood within the shop's interior. He immediately asks where Michelle is hiding while looking around at the apothecary-filled shelves. Alicia explains that her grandfather is traveling and she is currently managing the business alone. The man concludes that she must be capable of appraising items if she is running things. He taps the counter tuck with a sudden, purposeful movement to get the shopkeeper's attention. Leaning in close, the silver-haired guest asks her to check the records if she needs a name. He chuckles to himself, admitting that his name wouldn't actually be found in any ledger. The man produces an ornate white box and asks the girl to take a look at it. Alicia asks for a certificate or receipt, but he admits he has nothing like that. She notes the total lack of a story behind how he obtained the mysterious and valuable object. Alicia shocks the man by correctly identifying the item inside the box as a holy relic. Her expression hardens into a glare as she internally concludes that this man is a thief. She marvels at his audacity for walking into a professional shop with a stolen holy relic. The silver-haired man is completely bewildered, asking how she knew the nature of the object. Alicia shouts at him with sudden intensity, demanding to know where he stole the relic from. He frantically denies being a thief while still trying to understand her incredible appraisal skills. The pink-haired girl points a finger at him, ordering the guest to stay right where he is. She declares her intention to report the matter to the temple authorities as a loud tuck sounds. Alicia reaches for a device while the panicked guest grabs his box and prepares to run. The silver-haired man flees the pawnshop at full speed, disappearing back into the heavy rain. A loud bang echoes through the shop as he slams the front door shut during his escape. From outside the barred window, the man continues to scream that he is not a thief. Alicia scoffs at his pleas, questioning if any criminal would ever actually admit to their crimes. She reaches under the counter to retrieve a spray bottle for defense as the man yells. Alicia peers through the window bars at the man while readying her mysterious liquid weapon. She confronts the visitor through the window, repeating her accusation that he is definitely a thief. A sudden mist fills the air as she sprays the contents of the bottle toward the man. Alicia lets out a sharp ack as the mist blows back while the man continues to plead. She fumes with rage, calling him a damn thief as he continues his frantic retreat. The silver-haired man panics, promising to provide a full explanation at a later time as he flees. Alicia screams at him to stop, her hands gripping the shop's iron window bars in frustration. Distraught and sobbing behind the shop's iron bars, Alicia feels like she is going crazy. She collapses on the floor, cursing the man, while an internal voice suggests she get rest. Waving goodbye, the silver-haired man shouts that his name is Crescent and promises to return. Alicia screams back with absolute fury, ordering the man to never show his face here again. Sighing in frustration, she searches through the shop's shelves for the bottle of defensive holy water. A look of triumph crosses her face as she finally retrieves the small magical spray bottle. Alicia tests the device, producing a fine mist to ensure her primary defense is functioning correctly. She gleefully reflects on how this expensive, high-quality security item is perfect for such chaotic situations.
Gripping the shop's iron bars, Alicia vows that the thief won't get off easily next time.
A small tuck sounds as Alicia discards the empty bottle, needing a new magical security device. The scene shifts to the grand arches and stone hallways of a majestic white cathedral building. A cloaked figure walks through the hall, his distinctive silver hair catching the soft, holy light. Groups of clerics and priests bow their heads respectfully as the high-ranking visitor passes through. The man walks with a confident stride, his presence commanding silence throughout the long church hallway. He approaches the massive stone doors, leaving a wake of bowing followers in the silent corridor. Inside, Crescent wonders how a simple pawnshop girl identified his hidden holy relic with such ease. He reflects that not even Mikhail could appraise a holy relic using only his naked eyes. A memory of hearing about the old man's granddaughter resurfaces as he contemplates her incredible skill. In a flashback, he asks the old man if the girl is trustworthy enough to inherit business. Michelle predicts that the girl's leadership will result in either a spectacular failure or spectacular success. Crescent smiles, concluding that the girl's reaction earlier was certainly spectacular, just as the grandfather promised. An intricate floral pattern frames his internal curiosity about whether the girl will succeed or fail. A priest interrupts, addressing the man as Cardinal Crescent and announcing it is time for the meeting. He acknowledges the priest, turning to follow him while promising to arrive at the meeting shortly. He adjusts his heavy white cloak, his steps echoing with authority as he walks through the palace. A light, sharp tuck sounds as the cardinal reveals his elaborate, jeweled purple vestments under his cloak. Looking at the ornate box, Crescenciano promises to see the girl again at the shop very soon. The silver-haired cardinal smiles with a scheming expression, clearly intrigued by the pink-haired girl's unusual talents. Carrying a heavy suitcase, Alicia walks through the city streets with a focused and determined expression. A steady click rings out as the pink-haired girl enters the grand and prestigious bank building. A receptionist watches Alicia walk by, her face showing clear surprise at the girl's casual appearance. Stopping her, the woman apologizes and warns that this specific area is reserved for VIP clients only. Alicia calmly acknowledges the rule, leaving the receptionist bewildered as to why she is still proceeding. With a knowing smile, Alicia asks if she looks insufficiently rich or noble for the establishment. She presents a paper to the shocked clerk, stating she is handling business for Count Hugo Lionnet. Alicia confidently tells the woman she will be heading inside now to conduct her official business. She stands before a seated, gray-haired bank clerk in a spacious office filled with various ledgers. Rubbing her eye, Alicia requests a full review of the account belonging to Count Hugo Lionnet. The clerk asks for her relation to the Count, and Alicia identifies herself as his relative. When the clerk mentions needing a seal for access, Alicia reveals she came prepared with documents. A sudden sharp tuck sounds as she places a signed letter of authorization on the desk. She presents a recording device, explaining it contains the Count's personal statement granting her full authorization. The bank clerk confirms the records are valid and asks her to wait while he prepares everything. Alicia internally notes how she pressured Hugo, realizing her grandfather never would have allowed asset checks. She concludes that prior authorizations must have been forged, marveling at the audacity of the perpetrators. The clerk warns she needs a seal for withdrawals, but she clarifies she only wants a review. Looking at the ledger, Alicia notes the low balance despite constant large sums moving in and out. A devious smirk appears as Alicia realizes the Count was laundering money for a woman named Roseanne. Analyzing the transaction locations, she concludes there is a nearby place where massive sums of money circulate. Smiling brightly, Alicia tells the clerk she is finished and declares her next destination is already decided. Alicia arrives at the Philosophy auction house for the night auction, intending to set a trap. The opulent auction house is filled with wealthy guests in formal attire and glowing decor. Alicia wonders about the guards at the entrance as she scans the crowded Golden Hall. She suddenly notices the back of a tall man in black standing directly in front of her. Alicia reaches out and gently tugs on the black-haired man's sleeve to ask for the entrance. The man stops and turns, a scar visible on his cheek and a tattoo on his neck. Her purple eyes widen in surprise as she recognizes the dark-haired man standing before her. He looks down at her with a calm, piercing gaze framed by vibrant red flowers. The black-haired man asks what brings her here, his expression serious and slightly suspicious. Elisha asks if she is unwelcome and wonders if he actually lives in this building. He scoffs at the idea of living in an auction house, mentioning others live in pawnshops. The man questions if she truly lives in that pawnshop, and she simply confirms it. He asks if her family is aware of her living situation, but she remains evasive. Elisha admits her grandfather shouldn't know and wonders why living in a pawnshop is considered pathetic. Smiling brightly, Elisha tells him she has an important matter to attend to right now. She says her goodbyes and walks away, carrying her heavy white suitcase with determination. Looking around, she notes the auction is starting and hopes her plan works out perfectly. The black-haired man, now wearing a mask, suggests they talk again when she finishes her task. He walks away with a steady stride, leaving Elisha looking puzzled and slightly annoyed. The focus shifts to Alicia's boots and the heavy suitcase as she begins to move. Alicia adjusts her own white mask, wondering if she has become used to the man's greasy lines. He tells her from behind to stop assuming he is interested in her as he leaves. Wearing her mask, Alicia laughs to herself, relieved she hasn't built up a tolerance for him yet. The masked man tells her she has bloodshot eyes, surprising Alicia as she touches her face. The man's bluntness continues as he suggests she should go see an eye specialist soon. Elisha stands before two large guards and a doorway, her heavy suitcase held in her hand. She tilts her head, noting that the man's behavior makes people question his true interest. A large man in a suit greets her, welcoming her as a valued client for the night. The man, wearing a small mask, asks about her specific business at the Philosophy Auction House. He identifies himself as a seller and gestures for her to follow him through the hall. Elisha's boots click on the floor as she follows the guide toward the private rooms. Looking at a set of double doors, she assumes she must follow the path ahead. Alicia reaches out and pushes open the heavy, ornate gold door handle to the room. Inside the seller's waiting room, several masked nobles are lounging on sofas in a plush setting. Alicia enters the room cautiously, still holding her suitcase as the other guests watch her. A brown-haired man in a purple mask and vest calls out to her as she enters. Surprised, Alicia points to herself and asks if the masked man is actually addressing her. The man sneers, asking if she even knows where she is standing at this moment. When she asks if this is the seller's waiting room, he tells her she is run. He scoffs, complaining that the house lets in riffraff just for claiming they have goods. Alicia counters that an auction house is for judging items, not for judging people's status. He asks what the point of inspecting goods is if they don't vet the people first. The man in the purple mask accuses her of bringing in items that are found or stolen. Angered by the thief accusation, Elisha recalls her encounter with a real thief yesterday while fuming. She laughs, suggesting that if he wants a refined experience, he should have come during the day. Laughing behind her hand, Alicia continues her mocking response to the arrogant masked man. She mocks him further, asking if he has already been.
The man turns red with fury, clenching his fist at her insults while she watches.
He threatens to ruin her, but an attendant interrupts, calling the next person to step forward. The man and his guard walk through the doors, leaving Elisha behind in the waiting hall. Elisha is told to submit documents and identification, but she questions the need given her previous visits. Hearing the name Carlos Cordo, Alicia's eyes widen as she repeats the unfamiliar name in surprise. Elisha recognizes a document linking the Cordo family to Duke Lionette, realizing their connection to Roseanne's activities. An inspection of an ancient book is completed, causing Elisha to ponder the mysterious item's significance internally. A tuck sounds as the brown-haired guide announces the next turn and opens the large doors. Following the guide, Alicia's boots make a steady click while she learns the book auction follows the paintings. Framed by flowers, Alicia thinks to herself that Carlos Corto's schemes will definitely fail tonight. Adjusting her mask, the pink-haired girl looks ahead with a determined and focused expression. The grand auction hall stands ready, filled with rows of chairs and an opulent stage for the bidders. Alicia scans the crowd within the Golden Hall, looking for a specific target among the many guests. Spotting the man in the purple mask, she confirms that Carlos Corto is indeed present in the audience. Alicia's boots go click as she makes her way through the seating area toward her intended place. She reaches her row, standing momentarily as she prepares to take a seat near her target. Sitting down, she ignores the man's gaze, thinking he is free to stare as much as he likes. Carlos Corto gasps in shock as a tall figure suddenly moves into the space next to Alicia. Alicia wonders why the man in the purple mask is reacting so strangely to the new arrival. A soft plop sounds as the black-haired man takes the seat directly beside the surprised pink-haired girl. Alicia looks up in confusion at the black-haired masked man who has unexpectedly joined her. The man looks straight ahead, calmly instructing Alicia to keep her eyes focused on the auction stage. Alicia asks why he chose to sit there despite the presence of many other available seats nearby. The blonde auctioneer, Frederick, introduces himself and welcomes the guests to start the evening session. Frederick presents a raw ruby as the first item, noting it was reportedly mined over a century ago. Low whispers fill the massive hall as the wealthy guests react to the first valuable offering. The auctioneer introduces a painting titled Forest of Kelowna from a private collection as the next piece. Revealing the forest landscape, Frederick points out a small crack on the bottom left corner of the work. Guests whisper in disbelief about who would buy a damaged item, while Elisha watches their reactions closely. A knowing smirk appears on Alicia's face as she listens to the audience's predictable dismissal of the painting. The black-haired man asks if that is her submission, and she confirms it is that item. He questions her absurd starting price of 100 million gold, predicting the item is destined to remain unsold. Leaning in, Alicia whispers that the painting failing to sell was her exact intention for this plan. She reiterates her point, emphasizing that the lack of a buyer is a critical part of her strategy. The black-haired man concludes that her true goal must be far more significant than 100 million gold. He smirks, noting her method is familiar, while Elisha realizes he has guessed her intentions surprisingly well. Curious, Alicia asks him who exactly her current tactical method reminds him of. The man ignores her question, repeating his instruction for her to keep her eyes front as she complies. Frederick announces the start of the auction for rare books and ancient documents, placing a volume on display. Alicia's eyes sparkle with excitement as she realizes the moment she has been waiting for has finally arrived. The auctioneer introduces a posthumous work by a sociologist named August, catching Alicia's immediate attention. Carlos Cordo watches the stage intently, realizing this is the specific item submitted by that mysterious person. A blonde woman in a hat gasps as Frederick sets the starting bid for the notes at 200,000 gold. The blonde woman suddenly stands up in shock, apologizing for her outburst as Elisha watches her. A small pff sounds as Elisha watches the woman's reaction with a mix of amusement and recognition. Carlos Cordo smiles with a scheming look, unaware that Alicia is observing his interaction with the blonde woman. Alicia notes how the man in the purple mask keeps focusing his attention on the agitated blonde guest. Looking at the book, Alicia realizes the title is familiar and tries to recall where she heard it. She suddenly remembers that the book is about to be banned, despite being an unpublished work. Alicia reflects on a news article about a public official who was fired because of this specific manuscript. Staring at the blonde woman, Alicia successfully recalls her identity as Hannah Diego. The bidding continues to escalate quickly, with the current price for the book reaching 800,000 gold. Alicia concludes Roseanne got Hannah fired, knowing she would be desperate to acquire this banned book.
Alicia realizes winning the bid won't be easy with that man tailing her as she gasps.
The pink-haired girl turns her head sharply in surprise, her eyes wide with a sudden realization. Alicia and the black-haired man sit nearby as a large black boot dominates the foreground. Carlos Cordo orchestrates the auction by sending secret signals to raise the price of the item. Glaring toward her target, Alicia notes the presence of a transmitter attached to the man's shoe. While the bid hits 1.9 million gold, Alicia deciphers the tapping code used to manipulate prices.
Alicia reflects on how they are exploiting Hannah Diego to squeeze every bit of possible profit.
Determined, she decides she must find a way to stop Hannah from getting the book. Turning to the black-haired man beside her, Alicia declares that she has finally found a solution. Alicia grabs his sleeve, catching him off guard as he questions her sudden, unexpected physical contact. Leaning in close, Alicia whispers her plan into his ear, leaving the masked man visibly confused. Alicia proposes renting him for an hour to assist her, disregarding his attempts to object reasonably. She ends the argument by telling him to simply send the bill to the shop later. Alicia points out the scam involving number 81 and Carlos Corto to the black-haired masked man. She offers to handle the transmitter if he stops the accomplice, but he asks for her motivation. The man questions her interference, noting that she has nothing personal to lose if the scam continues. Alicia insists on helping an innocent person from a con artist, even without any personal gain. Watching him closely, the pink-haired girl wonders if the man truly intends to ignore her plea. The black-haired man gives a silent nod, surprising Alicia with his sudden agreement to her plans. Shocked by the rapid escalation, Alicia watches as the current bid reaches an incredible 6 million gold. Leaning close, Alicia whispers the final instructions of her tactical plan into the black-haired man's ear. Alicia urges the man to move quickly, watching as he stands to carry out his assigned task. The black-haired man walks down the stairs with a steady, purposeful stride to begin the operation. Rummaging through her suitcase, Alicia realizes she forgot her magic tool, but finds a bottle of holy water. Alicia pulls out the glowing blue bottle, realizing it is the only remaining tool she has left. The auctioneer begins the final countdown while Hannah Diego waits in a state of visible nervous agitation. Frederick counts down from 3 as the camera focuses on the bidding paddle for number 80. A hand grips the gavel handle tightly, preparing to end the bidding session for the ancient document. Alicia watches Carlos Cordo, knowing he is about to signal his accomplice to stop the bidding process. A soft tuck sounds as Carlos taps his boot against the wooden floor to send a single. The black boot lifts slightly off the ground, preparing for the second tap of the secret code. Alicia throws her bottle of holy water toward Carlos with a determined shout that now is the time. The glass bottle shatters on the floor with a loud crash, spraying blue liquid across the area. The liquid splashes around the man's boot, causing him to react in total confusion at the mess. Carlos Cordo stands up in shock as his secret signaling plan is suddenly and messily interrupted. Desperate to stop the auctioneer's countdown, Carlos shouts out in protest as the final count begins. Frederick continues counting as Carlos reaches out toward his accomplice, number 81, in a frantic panic. With a final bang sound, the auctioneer strikes the gavel down, officially closing the bidding. Frederick announces the book is sold to number 81 for 8.5 million gold, leaving the buyer devastated. The man holding paddle 81 screams in despair as Carlos watches the disastrous outcome in frozen silence. The buyer collapses in grief as a voice calls out to address the distraught, masked man. Large guards surround the buyer, informing him they have some matters to verify regarding the night's events. Carlos Cordo attempts to slip away unnoticed as the guards mention receiving a report about the auction.
Quick, hurried footsteps sound as a figure pursues the fleeing Carlos through the aisles and the hall.
With a quick tuck, the black-haired man catches Carlos by the arm, stopping his escape attempt. Carlos falls to the floor with a heavy thud, unable to break free from the man's grip. Standing over him, the black-haired man confirms that Carlos was indeed hiding something suspicious on his person. The man holds up a small black device, revealing the hidden transmitter that was used to cheat. With a light tuck, he hands the evidence over to the auction house guards for further inspection. The black-haired man walks past Hannah Diego, leaving her surprised as he heads back toward Elisha. Hannah Diego expresses her gratitude to the masked man, admitting she was nearly swindled. The black-haired man redirects her thanks, explaining that another person was actually responsible for helping. He points toward a specific area of the hall to indicate where her true benefactor was seated. An empty seat is all that remains where the pink-haired girl sat just moments ago. The black-haired man remains stoic as he processes the unexpected and swift departure of his companion. With a steady stride, the masked man moves through the grand hall, leaving the auction behind. Reaching into his pocket, he produces a small white card while maintaining a contemplative expression. Hannah Diego hands him a message, requesting that he notify her once he identifies the person who helped. The black-haired man ponders the girl's sudden disappearance, noting that his primary goal was to find her. He wonders if she truly intended to sell a mysterious item known only as the Luginot. Memories of the pink-haired girl's selfless insistence on helping an innocent person fill his thoughts. He finds it difficult to reconcile her kind actions with the reputation of an Ivor collaborator. Shaking his head, the man decides not to make any final judgments until he gathers more information. A vision of the elusive Ivor with long green hair appears, haunting the man's current investigation. He adjusts his black gloves as he moves forward, determined to uncover the truth of the night. A small, jeweled clip on his person begins to glow with a soft, pulsing light. The man remains convinced that the pink-haired girl is somehow deeply connected to the missing artifact. A full moon hangs over the silent towers of the grand mansion during the night. Now unmasked and dressed in royal attire, the man enters a private chamber as a door clicks shut. An aide in a formal uniform greets him, noting his arrival back at the palace. The nobleman reports that his investigation at the auction house yielded no suspicious findings regarding their target. When asked about updates from Moro, he confirms that no new information has been received yet. Leaning over a desk, the man focuses his attention on a specific object with a sharp gaze. His aide reminds him of the business card-shaped magical tool that was left at the pawnshop earlier. With a quick tuck sounding, he activates a blue glowing orb resting upon the ornate wooden table. They listen as the artifact transmits the sound of a woman crying, which abruptly ends. He asks his aide if he noticed anything specific about the woman's demeanor during the day. He recalls the pink-haired girl's expressive purple eyes, wondering if they were red from weeping. A wave of guilt hits him as he realizes he never once asked about her personal well-being. The morning sun casts a bright glow over the exterior of the massive white building. Security guards roughly handle Carlos Corto, leading him away from the premises after his public failure. A formal notice is thrust before him, declaring his permanent ban from ever entering the auction house. The disgraced man reacts with shock and despair as his social and professional reputation crumbles. The disgraced man walks away with heavy steps, his entire world crashing down around him. His attention is caught by the arrival of an opulent carriage adorned with gold and intricate carvings. Suddenly, guards ambush him, muffling his "ah" cries with a hand as they restrain his movements. Thrown onto the floor of the carriage, he looks up at the menacing figure of Viscountess Roseanne. Carlos trembles in uncontrollable fear as the powerful woman looms over him in the cramped space. Roseanne watches him with cold, calculating eyes, her arms crossed in a show of absolute authority. With a sharp quack sound, she presses her red heel into his back, exerting a painful force. She demands to know if he understands the immense financial and social damage his failure caused. The man begs for mercy, claiming the artifact's failure was an accident and he kept her secret. Disgust is evident on her face as she listens to his pathetic excuses and desperate pleas. He continues his frantic explanation, mentioning a troublesome woman and the chaos that ensued.
Roseanne's eyes widen in realization as he mentions the unsold painting valued at 100 million gold.
He identifies the work as Forest of Colonia, leaving the Viscountess in a state of visible shock. Her voice drops to a cold whisper as she orders him to immediately get down. Scrambling in a panic, the man quickly exits the carriage to escape the woman's wrath. A sharp tuck sounds as the carriage door slams shut, cutting off his pathetic apologies. Roseanne fumes over the incompetence of her subordinates, vowing to deal with Hannah, Diego, and the others. Hugo looks on in surprise as his sister calls out to address him directly. Roseanne reveals the painting given to their uncle was actually listed for 100 million gold. Hugo stammers about the painting's lack of value while sweating profusely from the sudden news. Roseanne questions her uncle's true intentions, wondering if the auction was merely a secret signal. Hugo is visibly confused as his sister ponders the possibility of a hidden message. Roseanne explains the signal is a code meant for a collaborator to buy the painting. Hugo realizes the high price suggests something of equal value is hidden within the artwork. Roseanne suggests the painting's coniferous forest might indicate the location of her uncle's buried fortune. Hugo panics, realizing they have lost their chance to retrieve the valuable painting. Hugo screams about the auction house's elite security, while Roseanne sighs at his outburst. Roseanne stares coldly, asking if he has forgotten her methods for acquiring wealth. Hugo reacts in shock as Roseanne confirms she has already planned a deceptive move. Roseanne displays a vision of the coniferous forest, revealing she has prepared a forgery. The Viscountess views her uncle as a nuisance for involving a certain young girl. Hugo notes that the girl they encountered seemed completely unaware of any secret plans.
Roseanne expresses her complete indifference regarding whether the girl is actually involved or not.
Roseanne vows to forcibly remove her uncle if he refuses to step down voluntarily. With a cold and calculating smile, Roseanne decides to destroy the pawnshop entirely. The carriage speeds away as she prepares to eliminate all bothersome obstacles in her way. A reflection of the white-haired grandfather appears, a haunting image of the past. A heavy door creaks open with a sharp sound, revealing a new location. A man at a counter welcomes Elisha back to his establishment with a polite smile. The man presents a basket filled with the specific medicinal herbs Elisha had previously requested. Elisha expresses her sincere gratitude to the doctor for his constant assistance with her needs. Elisha recalls her desperation when previous doctors were unable to identify her grandfather's mysterious ailment. The pink-haired girl walks through the quiet streets with a sense of purpose. Elisha stops before a building, hoping this will finally be the place to find answers. She considers searching other regions if this final attempt at a diagnosis also fails. A doctor greets Elisha as she enters, asking how he might be able to help. The doctor freezes in sudden shock upon seeing the girl's face for the first time. Alicia's confused by his reaction, but he claims he simply recalled something important. They sit down together as the man prepares to listen to the details of her situation. Elisha explains her grandfather's condition, noting his body has become increasingly frail and weak. She describes his intermittent memory loss, and the doctor asks when the symptoms first appeared. After hearing it's been 6 months, the doctor ponders the lack of any head injuries. The doctor asks if the patient is present, and Elisha explains the difficult circumstances. Elisha sighs, fearing a diagnosis is impossible without the doctor examining her grandfather in person. To her surprise, the doctor smiles and says he has an idea about the illness. Elisha is shocked as the doctor mentions reading records about a patient with identical symptoms. The man begins searching through old leather-bound books to confirm his medical suspicions. The doctor identifies a rare disease called Mendax and presents a book on the subject. He explains the disease stems from long-term exposure to a specific, unidentified toxin. Elisha looks concerned as he clarifies that a complete cure might be an exaggeration. A decoction of boiled snow mint roots is suggested to help manage the patient's symptoms. He admits a fundamental cure is still unknown and a personal meeting is preferred. The doctor warns Elisha about the potential risk of side effects from the prescribed herbs. Determination fills Alicia's eyes as she considers the risks of the only available treatment. Elisha asks if the treatment can be safely stopped if adverse reactions occur during usage. The doctor agrees to provide the medicine if she is truly willing to take the risk. Elisha remains resolute, knowing she must try everything to find a way to heal him. Elisha tells the doctor she can finally breathe again because her grandfather's condition is improving. A moment of relief passes as Elisha continues her conversation with the brown-haired doctor. Elisha asks if anyone inquired about her or her grandfather, and the doctor confirms he kept their secret. Alicia gives a playful wink while thanking the doctor for his ongoing assistance with her needs. Elisha says goodbye as she prepares to leave the medical office with her basket of herbs. A sharp tuck sounds as the door clicks shut, leaving the doctor alone in the room. The doctor stands silently, watching the door after the pink-haired girl's departure from his office. The scene shifts to the sunlit, peaceful buildings of the town during the bright day. Alicia walks through town, thinking about her herb delivery and the need for new self-defense items. Alicia enters a new establishment and calls out a friendly greeting to a woman named Emma. Emma, a young woman with short green hair, welcomes her customer with a bright smile. Alicia explains she needs an item that can instantly subdue an opponent rather than just a spray. Emma's expression shifts to one of sudden, wide-eyed shock at the pink-haired girl's specific request. Emma coughs awkwardly, wondering if Alicia has specific interests involving the handcuffs and ropes shown behind her. Alicia frantically waves her hands while blushing, clarifying the items are strictly for protection and self-defense. Emma remains skeptical of the explanation, while Alicia continues to desperately deny any other intentions. Alicia quickly changes the subject, mentioning she has an important question to ask the green-haired woman. Alicia wonders if mages have professional guilds or emergency contact networks similar to the merchant guilds. Emma leans in close to state that mages possess absolutely no sense of solidarity with one another. Alicia looks dejected, explaining that she had been hoping to find a specific mage for a reason. Emma teases Alicia about falling in love at first sight, prompting an outraged and loud denial. Alicia admits she lacks the man's name or face and only possesses knowledge of his magic circle. Emma claps her hands, noting that a magic circle serves as a mage's distinct and personal signature. Alicia places a piece of paper on the counter containing a drawing of the magical signature. Emma examines the drawing, identifying the symbols of a beetle, olive tree, smoke, coral, and pomegranate. Emma confirms the combination is unusual enough to track, leaving Alicia feeling relieved and grateful. Emma asks how Alicia saw the circle, and the girl cryptically replies that she has her ways. Alicia shakes her head, knowing she cannot reveal she saw the image in her past life. A determined smile crosses Alicia's face as she plans to use the information to reclaim Lionette. Alicia walks through a hallway, reflecting on the news reaching Roseanne regarding the valuable forest painting. Alicia considers the fact that Roseanne likely already possesses a replica of the famous artwork. She realizes that, in the end, Roseanne will be forced to purchase the original painting regardless. Alicia ponders the reasons behind Roseanne's attempt to dismiss the woman known as Hannah Diego. Alicia thinks about Roseanne's influence over forbidden books when a voice suddenly interrupts her quiet thoughts. Alicia looks up in surprise as she is suddenly addressed by an unseen person nearby. A heavy thud sounds as Alicia makes sudden, forceful contact with another person in the building. Alicia rubs her head in pain while a blonde woman asks if she is all right after the collision. A blonde woman wearing glasses and a hat stands before Alicia, looking bright and very apologetic. The blonde woman recognizes Alicia as the person who helped her at the auction house previously. The woman identifies herself as Hannah Diego, confirming Alicia's suspicions about the stranger's true identity. Alicia expresses her sincere pleasure at meeting Hannah and looks forward to their future collaboration. A warm cup of tea sits on the wooden table, steam rising gracefully into the air. Hannah thanks Alicia for the tea while wearing a cheerful and relaxed expression. Alicia watches Hannah drink, finding it hard to believe Roseanne wanted to fire someone so harmless. Alicia asks Hannah how she managed to find her way to the pawnshop in the first place. Hannah looks curious and asks Alicia if she hadn't already heard the news from someone else. Hannah explains a scary gentleman told her, triggering Alicia's memory of the mysterious black-haired man. Hannah describes trying to thank the man, who then redirected all of the gratitude toward Alicia. Hannah reveals the man sent a telegram about the pawnshop, leading her to visit as soon as possible. Alicia smiles warmly at her guest while asking Hannah about the nature of her current workplace. Hannah explains that she is an Imperial document officer who currently works in the archives. The blonde woman admits her obsession with books caused her to lose focus at the auction. Alicia asks if Hannah also handles the management and preservation of various types of old books. Hannah happily confirms Alicia's assumption, expressing her genuine excitement about visiting the local pawnshop today. Hannah spots a glass paperweight on a nearby shelf and excitedly notes its usefulness for reading. Alicia watches her guest with a look of surprise, realizing the woman is a true bibliophile. Alicia offers to let Hannah explore the old books and documents stored in the shop's basement. Soft footsteps echo through the quiet building as the two women head toward the archives. Hannah is completely awestruck as she enters the basement, mesmerized by the vast collection of books. Hannah impulsively tells Alicia she is falling in love with her, while Alicia laughs awkwardly. A sharp sound rings out as Hannah suddenly stops and focuses on a specific shelf. Hannah points at a book and asks Alicia if she would be willing to sell it. Alicia notes the book's high price, but Hannah reveals she's saved millions in gold recently. Alicia agrees to the sale while the blonde woman reaches out toward the red book excitedly. Alicia winks playfully and includes the glass paperweight as a bonus, making Hannah squeal with delight. Hannah asks if Alicia needs any professional help, looking eager to repay the girl's extreme kindness. Hannah reveals her expertise in identifying forged documents and her ability to restore various ancient texts. Alicia is intrigued by the mention of forgeries, prompting Hannah to confirm her specialized skills. Alicia asks if Hannah has recently encountered any forgeries that were created by Viscountess Roseanne. Hannah is shocked by the question, but Alicia's suspicions about Roseanne's deceptive habits are confirmed. Hannah explains that Roseanne tried to embezzle funds with fake receipts, resulting in a budget cut. Alicia is stunned that Roseanne tried to fire a loyal employee for simply doing her job. Hannah hands over a document while expressing her sincere gratitude to Alicia for the new opportunity. Alicia asks Hannah to notify her immediately if the Viscountess ever makes any further suspicious contact. Hannah nods vigorously in agreement, promising to report any interference from the woman in the future. Hannah hugs her new book tightly with a blissful smile, looking completely happy and content. A creaking sound echoes as the blonde woman says goodbye and promises to return very soon. A sharp sound marks the heavy door closing as the girl remains alone with her thoughts. Alicia reflects on her past life memories, but realizes she still requires more current and detailed information. Alicia considers her next moves carefully, knowing she must prepare for the challenges Roseanne will pose. She looks into a box filled with colorful envelopes, searching for any potential leads or clues. Alicia recalls the image of a scarred man and decides to visit the local information guild. The scene shifts to the exterior of a grand, multi-story building during a bright, starry night. Alicia stands before the guild's impressive entrance, observing the structure with a look of intense curiosity. She notes her past experiences were limited to the branch located in the distant principality of Moro. A vision of a dark and intimidating tavern interior flashes through Alicia's mind as she remembers. A creaking sound fills the air as Alicia reaches for the door handle to enter. Alicia is shocked as she enters, finding the interior to be incredibly bright and surprisingly welcoming. The guild office is decorated like a luxurious parlor, completely defying the girl's dark and scary expectations. A friendly voice calls out a greeting from the side, drawing Alicia's attention toward the room. A man on a ladder apologizes for the mess while he finishes changing the spring curtains. A small white and orange cat brushes against Alicia's legs while purring in a friendly manner. The red-haired man, William, introduces himself as the master of this specific information guild branch. Alicia chooses juice while William laughs and invites her to take a seat for their meeting. A glass of bright orange juice is placed on the table with a quick and soft sound. William asks why his new customer looks so dazed while he leans over the wooden table. Alicia admits that she expected the Information Guild to have a much more intimidating and scary atmosphere. William laughs heartily, explaining that the establishment was actually a terrifying place until a few years ago. William looks depressed while explaining that the guild's scary reputation originally drove away all potential customers. Alicia asks about his sales, but William dejectedly notes that the interior design wasn't the problem. Alicia wonders if other employees are scaring away customers more than William does. William is taken aback and asks if she is referring to a man named Alter. William laughs, agreeing that Alter's constant black clothing makes him look naturally intimidating. Alicia changes the subject, stating she has 2 specific requests to make today. William looks attentive and asks the pink-haired girl to explain her 2 requests. Alicia requests an introduction to a weapons expert who can serve as a consultant. William promises to contact her later if he thinks of a suitable person. William asks Alicia what her second request for the Information Guild happens to be. Alicia stands up to leave, deciding to leave both of her requests to him. William pauses to ask Alicia how a man named Mr. Michel is feeling. Alicia stops in her tracks, looking visibly shocked by the mention of the name. Alicia turns back with a bright, closed-eye smile, confirming he is doing very well. A creaking sound fills the air as Alicia opens the door to exit. Alicia lets out a sharp "ah" as she suddenly and forcibly bumps into someone. Alicia rubs her head in pain while the stranger notes how busy she is. The person is revealed as the black-haired man with the distinct neck tattoo. Alicia looks back at the guild door as it creaks again behind her. Alicia is surprised to see the man and asks why he is there. Alicia smiles playfully, wondering if he knew she was coming and was waiting. Alter looks annoyed, explaining he works there and they just ran into each other. Alter asks if she believes him, while Alicia smiles with a cheerful aura. Alicia walks away, concluding that Alter must really be an Information Guild member. Soft footsteps echo on the stone road as Alicia walks through town at night. Alicia turns around in surprise, noticing that Alter is following her through the dark. Alicia looks startled and a bit angry, questioning why the man is trailing her. A loud "ack" sounds as Alicia makes sudden, hard contact with an unseen obstacle. Alicia falls onto the pavement, letting out a pained ow after her collision. Alicia looks up in disbelief at the large statue standing in the road. Alter's hand appears, reaching down to grab the handle of Alicia's fallen bag. Alter stands over her and reminds her of a previous warning he gave. Alter pulls her up while telling her to watch where she is walking.
Alicia blames her fall on the distraction of him following her through the street.
Alter tells her to go, prompting a confused question of where from Alicia. Alter looks back and asks if this wasn't the way to her pawnshop. Alter states he has business to attend to while Alicia watches him. Alter leans in close, reminding Alicia they still have business to settle between them. A narration bubble asks about the cost of borrowing a customer for an hour. A flashback shows the masked pair sitting together during the previous auction house event. Alicia realizes what he means and agrees that the matter remains unsettled.
Alicia admits she misunderstood his actions, while Alter tells her not to worry.
Alter claims she had the face of someone about to say something aloud. Alter glances at her and asks if something happened to her recently. Alicia is taken aback by the question, asking if he means to her personally. Alter notes her bag was filled with self-defense magic tools when he looked near. Alter explains that as a guild member, he should know of any shopkeeper's trouble. Alicia dismisses his concern, stating she just wanted to be prepared for future enemies. Alter questions her desire for enemies, but Alicia insists on preparing in advance. Alter looks at her intensely and asks again if nothing really happened to her.
Alicia thinks for a moment, then mentions something did happen at the auction house.
Alter recalls that day, specifically when Milton mentioned hearing the sound of someone crying. Alicia laughs while explaining how water leaked from the top floor ceiling the other day. She adds that she fixed it well enough to withstand a typhoon despite the cost. The black-haired man stops walking abruptly, prompting a confused question of, "Sir?" from the girl. Alter asks if her shop is so precious she would cry if anything went wrong. Alicia looks up at him with wide, curious eyes and confirms that it truly is. Alter turns away silently, his expression unreadable as he prepares to continue their journey together. Alicia watches him closely, noting that the overall atmosphere feels significantly different than it usually does. Alter asks why she is staring, while Alicia wonders why he isn't moving toward their destination.
A soft sound of footsteps follows as Alter suggests they finally head toward the pawnshop.
The black-haired man walks ahead silently, his broad shoulders and tattoo visible from the back. Alicia remains still for a moment, looking startled by the sudden shift in his demeanor. A quick tapping sound echoes as the two walk through the blue-lit town street at night. As they arrive, Alter asks if they should finally begin discussing the terms of their agreement. Inside the shop, Alicia notes her requests to William were simple, starting at 100,000 gold. Alter proposes 200,000 gold for the auction matter and success fee before pausing to speak. He mentions that the Information Guild handles much more than just the exchange of secret information. Alter explains that he can also be requested to provide bodyguards or various security personnel services. Alicia realizes his earlier concern about her ceiling was actually a subtle and clever sales pitch. Alicia smiles and promises to contact him specifically the next time her roof begins to leak. Alter questions what she was originally trying to request from the guild earlier that evening.
Alicia explains she wanted a weapons consultant and information regarding current rumors within noble society.
An internal monologue reveals her true purpose is to secretly monitor Vice-Countess Roseanne's every move.
Alicia worries that an open investigation into Roseanne might eventually reach the woman's own ears.
Alter looks down at her with a serious expression and agrees to take her request. Alicia is surprised by his offer, but he clarifies he isn't referring to the social rumors. Alter states his condition is for her to consult him specifically for all weapon-related advice. Alicia laughs and playfully suggests he is just making an excuse to come see her often. She wonders if he actually wants to see her weapon collection or check for stolen goods.
Alicia places a hand on her chest with a bright smile and declines his current proposal.
Alter looks visibly taken aback by her refusal and asks for the reasoning behind her decision. Alicia explains that paying ongoing advisory fees would result in financial losses for her pawnshop business. She watches his reaction carefully, wondering if the man might have some sort of hidden agenda. Alicia reflects on how refusing once makes later negotiations easier and prevents her from looking foolish. Alter notes that he hasn't even had the chance to demonstrate his professional skills to her. Alicia smiles and suggests they try a few temporary cases before signing any formal business contract. Alter lets out a short laugh, looking impressed by the girl's sharp and cautious business mind. He notes that she insists on setting conditions in the end despite his initial offer. Alicia is surprised that the prideful man agreed to her terms much more easily than expected. Alter smiles confidently and assures her that she will be completely satisfied with his professional performance. Alicia looks startled and flustered by the intensity of his gaze and his sudden display of confidence. Alter clarifies that he is strictly referring to his specialized skills and expertise as a consultant. Alicia smiles awkwardly while blushing, confirming that she understood his meaning the entire time.
Alicia prepares to leave, but Alter stops her and tells her to wait for a moment.
Alter looks at her intensely and asks the pink-haired girl what her name happens to be.
Alicia looks surprised, noting that they have never actually introduced themselves to one another before now. She winks playfully and asks if he just wanted to hear her say her name aloud herself. Alter looks annoyed by her teasing, prompting Alicia to realize she should probably behave more moderately.
A decorative frame filled with yellow roses surrounds a single bubble containing the name Alicia.
Alicia smiles warmly at him and finally introduces herself by name with a graceful, happy expression. Alter nods his head slowly in acknowledgement, confirming that he understands her name is Alicia.
Soft footsteps echo as the black-haired man walks away while Alicia questions his refusal to introduce himself.
Steady footsteps continue as the man moves further away, his broad back turned toward the pink-haired girl. Alicia suddenly stops in her tracks and calls out for him to wait a moment longer. Alicia smiles brightly and waves goodbye, teasingly complimenting how well the white shirt suits his appearance.
The black-haired man pauses briefly, looking back over his shoulder with a neutral expression on his face.
Alter offers a rare, subtle smile before finally departing, the sunlight highlighting his distinctive neck tattoo. A decorative notification framed with roses announces that the Emperor of the Presleaf Empire is currently absent. The scene shifts to a grand, sprawling white palace standing majestically under a clear blue sky. A memory reveals the red-haired emperor mourning over a coffin, overcome by shock from the empress's recent death. Carriage wheels rattle as the grieving emperor departs on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land to find peace. A formal narration box notes that someone else was appointed to take over the emperor's royal duties. Inside the palace, rows of servants and maids stand at attention before a pair of massive golden doors. A sharp creak fills the hall as the heavy palace doors begin to swing open for an arrival. Marquise Credel, the regent of the empire, enters the room with a stern gaze and an imposing presence. The gathered staff bow deeply as they offer their formal greetings to the Marquis in his new role. Firm footsteps sound on the polished floor as the red-haired Marquis walks confidently through the palace hallway. The Marquis comes to a sudden stop before a line of officials holding several ceremonial scrolls. A sharp snap of fingers draws an official's attention, prompting the man to look up in visible surprise. The official bows while presenting a scroll for review as Crodel mentions having tea with old friends earlier. Marquise Cordell looks serious as he mentions a troubling story he heard from a specific Viscountess during tea. A vision of Viscountess Roseanne appears as the Marquis describes the issue of forged permits and unverified goods. Marquise Cordell smiles coldly, confirming that the information he shared was exactly what the noblewoman had reported. Crodell notes the outdated permit format and asks the official to order the implementation of a new version. Crodell states that new permits require a guarantor, ensuring there is always someone to punish if shops flee. The Marquis specifies that guarantors must be relatives or nobles and orders the Holy Knights to conduct inspections. The official nervously confirms that the knights are currently available to begin the immediate enforcement of the order. Marquise Crodell strokes his chin thoughtfully, concluding that a certain location will serve as the perfect starting point. The scene shifts to the capital's gray streets, described as a dangerous and shadowed area filled with merchants. Inside a well-lit shop, a customer asks if a stamp truly sold for such a high price. Elisha explains that a collector eagerly purchased the rare commemorative stamp issued for the emperor's previous birthday. The brown-haired woman looks delighted, realizing that consigning the item for sale was a very profitable business decision. Elisha encourages the woman to bring more stamps in the future, while the customer promises to do so. The woman hums a happy tune as she exits the pawnshop, feeling satisfied with her successful transaction. Alicia celebrates her significant share of the profits, looking extremely pleased with the growth of her shop's wealth. A soft scribbling sound follows as Alicia records her earnings, noting they have already exceeded 30 million gold. Alicia looks at her ledger and concludes that it is finally time to start investing her growing capital. A quick clip of the door sign is followed by the rhythmic sound of Alicia sweeping the shop floor. An employee peeks through the doorway and asks why the boss is deciding to close the shop so early. Alicia smiles and explains she must attend the Gray Street Merchants' General Meeting regarding the upcoming festival. The employee expresses her excitement for the festival, and Alicia agrees before telling her to return tomorrow. Alicia continues sweeping while reflecting on how a pawn shop can best capitalize on the busy festival season. A cheerful clink of coins sounds as Chibi Alicia visualizes the massive profit potential of her new idea. Alicia sweeps rapidly with a determined aura, confident that her plan will significantly increase the shop's customer base. A loud ring from the typewriter startles Alicia, drawing her attention to a new incoming message on the desk. Alicia excitedly grabs a spray bottle, certain that the message must be the information she requested from William. A soft mist sprays onto the blank paper as Alicia prepares to reveal the hidden contents of the letter. A sliding sound follows as the ink appears, and Elisha triumphantly announces that the reveal is finally complete.
Alicia's expression shifts to one of shock and disbelief as she begins to read the revealed text.
The letter warns that the palace is enforcing new merchant permits, and Grey Street will be the first target. Alicia grips the paper tightly as a dark energy surrounds her, noting this feels exactly like a past tragedy. Narrative text describes high-level corruption while planning something shady and pretending to be legal. Elisha wonders if Roseanne is targeting her pawnshop and trying to pull some kind of scheme.
Alicia types a message to William asking him to quietly find out who pushed for the legal revision.
Next, Elisha types a message to Hannah asking for advance information on the revised merchant permit formats.
Alicia sighs and expresses her frustration about such a move happening during an already busy time.
Alicia's eyes narrow as she questions why Roseanne is choosing to push things this far. Roseanne stands over a collapsed figure and laughs that things have finally come to an end.
Alicia reflects on how Roseanne spoke those words while looking at her collapsed grandfather. Alicia reflects on Roseanne's possible inferiority complex and regrets letting her stay near her grandfather.
As she moves away, the shop's doorbell chimes with a sudden tinkle. Alicia turns back in surprise, her attention captured by someone entering the shop. The blonde man asks Alicia if she is already finished with her business. The blonde man says he would like to take a look around the shop. A credit banner features focused eyes above the roles of translator, proofreader, and editor. The blonde man stands with an imposing presence, his gaze steady and regal. Alicia is visibly flustered by the man's overwhelming radiance as he stands before her. Elisha invites the guest to take his time, thinking he likely won't stay long anyway. The man excuses himself with a polite bow, while Elisha feels bad about potentially rushing him. A narration bubble notes that the man looks exactly like a prince from a fairy tale. The man rests his hand on his chin while carefully observing the shop's interior. Alicia wonders why a man wearing a knight's uniform would visit a pawnshop as a customer.
Alicia's eye widens in shock as a sudden, startling realization crosses her mind.
Alicia excitedly recalls her grandfather saying knights sometimes visit to request cooperation for investigations. Alicia searches for her business cards, wanting to be prepared for a potential professional interaction. The blonde man approaches Alicia, startling her as he suddenly moves much closer. A brilliant golden emblem on the man's uniform sparkles intensely in the light. The man asks if Elisha is the owner here, and she confirms that it is her.
The blonde man acknowledges her answer with a stern, focused look in his eyes.
Alicia looks up at him with a confused and uncertain expression on her face. The man demands to know who gave Elisha permission to do business in the shop. Alicia is outraged, inwardly questioning if the man is actually a thug instead of a knight. Alicia reaches under the counter, deciding to test her new magical tool on the aggressive intruder.
Alicia laughs nervously and points out that she owns the building herself.
The man asks if she trades relics and if they were reported to the World Tree Temple. Narrative boxes explain that reporting relic trades was once required, but centuries have passed since enactment. The text clarifies that the law is no longer enforced because many relics were lost. A narration box explains that the temple cannot possibly manage every single relic that exists. The man assumes Elisha failed to report the relics, but she quickly objects to his accusation. Alicia's hand comes down with a heavy thud as she slams the ledger on the counter. The man flips through the book as Elisha wonders how he knew about their relics. A beautiful green gemstone pendant hangs on a silver chain, identified as the pendentrina. Elisha swallows nervously, fearing the man might be a follower of her uncle after the pendant. The book closes with a sharp thud as the man finishes his inspection of the records.
Elisha asks for an apology, but the man says he has more apologies to give later.
The blonde man turns away and orders Elisha to open the door for him.
Alicia is stunned when the man demands access to the shop's second floor as well.
Her hand tightens with a firm squeeze as she stares at the man in disbelief. A sudden whoosh fills the air as Elisha hurls a magical orb to protect Rena's pendant. A bright flash erupts as the orb flies, targeting the man's position in the room. A soft roll sounds as the blue orb skips uselessly across the floor tiles.
Alicia stares blankly in utter confusion, her eyes wide as she tries to process the situation.
The blonde man claims he saw her attempt to hide something very clearly and remains unimpressed. The blonde knight turns to head upstairs, but Elisha desperately calls for him to wait a moment. Alicia blocks the way, asserting that damaging the second-floor door would count as reckless property destruction. The blonde man asks why she doesn't just open it herself, while Alicia hesitates before answering. Alicia puts on a cute, mischievous face while claiming she unfortunately lost the key to the second floor. The blonde man suggests that her missing key is even more reason for him to force the door open.
A soft sigh escapes Alicia's lips as she realizes her excuses aren't deterring the persistent knight.
Alicia crosses her arms and directly asks if he is visiting the shop to retrieve a specific relic. Elisha demands to know how he discovered the relic's presence, but the man says it changes nothing. Alicia's eyes focus on the man's shining golden emblem, realizing that's how he tracked the items. A knowing smile spreads across Alicia's face as she begins to piece together the man's true identity.
The knight refuses to explain himself, while Alicia inwardly notes that things are proceeding exactly as planned.
The man asks if she's finally cooperating, and Alicia admits that further resistance would only cause her loss. Alicia smiles brightly and tells the knight to return only after he has obtained a formal search warrant. Alicia adds that he should bring evidence or a report, leaving the blonde man looking quite annoyed.
The blonde man argues his rights take precedence, but Alicia retorts they can settle the matter in court.
Alicia firmly demands a warrant before she alerts the entire neighborhood to his disruptive behavior.
A heavy footstep sounds on the wooden floor as the knight ignores her warning and continues forward. Alicia is shocked by his audacity, shouting in surprise as the man brushes past her into the shop.
A painful grunt sounds as the blonde man suddenly clutches his head, while Alicia wonders what happened. The blonde man asks what subtle magical tool she used, visibly pained by the invisible strike. The knight's suspicion grows due to her concealment, but Alicia is completely stunned by his accusation.
Alicia vents her fury, outraged that he is blaming her for his own self-inflicted pain. The black-haired man appears, accusing the knight of making empty threats and speaking nonsense to the shopkeeper.
The black-haired man stands with crossed arms, demanding to know what the knight is doing in the shop. The blonde man winces in pain as the black-haired man watches him with a cold, protective gaze. Intense glares are exchanged between the black-haired man and the blonde knight in a silent, tense standoff. The black-haired man orders the knight to leave before Alicia draws more unwanted attention to the scene. The blonde knight reluctantly agrees to leave for now, still holding his head from the magical feedback. The knight warns Alicia that he will eventually find whatever she is trying so hard to hide. Rhythmic footsteps sound as the blonde knight finally exits the shop, leaving Alicia and the black-haired man.
A heavy thud sounds as Alicia collapses to her knees, overwhelmed by the stress of the confrontation.
The black-haired man asks if she was hurt, but Alicia explains she was simply very nervous. The black-haired man looks down with a lingering sense of concern for the exhausted shop owner. Alicia stands up quickly as the black-haired man reaches out his hand to help her. Alicia looks up in surprise, asking if he was actually trying to reach out to her just now. The black-haired man turns away, dismissing her observation as more of her usual nonsense.
Alicia stands close to her protector, looking at him with a mix of curiosity and gratitude.
Alicia notes that he seemed to recognize the knight and asks if they know each other. The black-haired man nods and admits that he knows the blonde knight's identity a little bit. Alicia questions if the man is a real knight or just some thug pretending to be one. Alicia wonders aloud if knights are typically so aggressive and thug-like in their manner of speech. Chibi Alicia happily calls the knight a thug, while the black-haired man looks on in confusion. The man points out that not all knights are the same, prompting a grateful response from Alicia.
Alicia laughs, explaining she is just glad he helped her keep the intruder away from the second floor.
A sharp pause follows as the black-haired man stops walking, his expression turning serious once more.
Alicia asks what brought him to her shop today, while he remains silent for a moment.
The black-haired man asks Alicia what exactly the blonde knight was trying to find in the shop. Alicia mentions that someone told her she needed to open the shop from the second floor. The black-haired man reveals the knight was searching for a relic, while Alicia realizes he overheard everything. Alicia stares back with an annoyed look, wondering why he asked when he already knew the truth. The black-haired man asks if she knows specifically which holy relic the knight was trying to find. Alicia looks at him with a puzzled expression, questioning why he is so curious about the matter. The black-haired man wonders if the knight used an information guild or if the organization Altar is involved. Alicia claims she heard nothing, but the man resolves not to share any information with Altar if so. Alicia admits she had high hopes because the knight looked like a prince, but he acted scary instead. Alicia compares the knight to a prince from a fairy tale, much to the black-haired man's annoyance. Alicia is satisfied that her airhead act worked, despite feeling her reputation is becoming a bit strange. Alicia's attention is suddenly pulled away as a sharp, high-pitched chime rings out through the shop. Alicia realizes she completely forgot about the upcoming Merchants' General Assembly meeting she was supposed to attend. Alicia hurriedly gathers her papers, hoping her lateness won't prevent the group from listening to her festival ideas. Alicia looks down at her document with a startled expression, letting out a small sound of pure confusion. The black-haired man notes that the knight never specified his business while Alicia continues to check her papers. Alicia gives a cheerful, apologetic smile and asks if they can continue their discussion at a later time. Alicia explains that an extremely urgent matter has just arisen and she must leave the shop immediately. A sudden, sharp creak sounds as the door is flung open to the bright street outside. Alicia sits at her desk, letting out a weary sigh while she carefully reviews a very important document. A letter from Hannah reveals that licensing now requires a blood relative or a high-ranking noble as a guarantor. Alicia stands up with a sudden, forceful jolt as the true weight of the new requirement hits her.
rhythmic, hurried footsteps sound as Alicia rushes out of the pawn shop to reach the Merchant Guild's meeting. The scene shifts to the black-haired man sitting at an ornate desk examining the shop's business card tool. The black-haired man rests his hand on his chin, noting how odd the current situation has become. Static-filled speech bubbles recall the blonde knight's accusations regarding the illegal trading and reporting of holy relics. The man wonders why the magic tool in the business card broke and if the knight touched it intentionally. The black-haired man looks away in deep thought, focusing his suspicion on the true identity of the man. A regal portrait identifies the blonde man as Ailen Hugo Regressed, the commander of the Imperial Holy Knights. The black-haired man notes that Ailen noticed something even without recognizing him, making his visit very suspicious.
A bead of sweat rolls down the man's face as he wonders if Ailen is searching for Luganoth.
Narrative boxes explain that while Luganoth is tempting, the Empire shouldn't know about its theft or Ivor smuggling.
The black-haired man remains silent, staring off with a grim and focused look in his red eyes. The man massages his temple, wondering if he is too fixated on Luganoth and if Ailen has other motives. A sharp thud sounds as the man recalls Ailen writhing in pain from a magic tool he couldn't detect. Narrative text questions why the powerful knight commander would react with such intense pain to a simple touch. A soft slide sounds as the man stands, deciding to investigate the Holy Knight commander to find the truth. The scene shifts to the Merchant Guild's office where several members are gathered around a large wooden table. A loud, clattering bang sounds, startling Madame Helena as someone crashes through the door into the meeting.
Alicia bursts in, gasping for air as the guild members formally welcome her to the General Assembly meeting.
Madame Helena asks why Alicia is so out of breath and if she actually ran the entire way there. Alicia returns the greeting between heavy breaths and asks Madame Helena to immediately look at the document she brought. A soft rustle sounds as Madame Helena takes the paper from Alicia's hand to begin her own inspection. Madame Helena's expression turns grave as she asks if this alarming information comes from a truly trustworthy source. Alicia gives a firm, confident nod, assuring the guild leader that the source of her information is definitely reliable. Madame Helena announces that the festival agenda is postponed, leaving Alicia and the others in a state of shock. The merchants demand an explanation for the sudden change, while Helena reveals a far more urgent matter exists. Helena explains that the merchant license form is being newly revised, and the situation is quite serious for everyone. Whispers fill the room as Helena states that license holders must now have a noble or blood relative guarantor. The merchants cry out in despair, realizing that those without noble connections will be forced to close their shops. Alicia realizes Roseanne is using these dirty tricks to force her grandfather out of hiding and into the open. A sharp squeeze sounds as Alicia clenches her fist, vowing to stay calm and protect her grandfather from Roseanne. The sun begins to set over the quiet town, casting a warm glow on Alicia's shop. A heavy thought lingers as Alicia realizes Roseanne's ultimatum presents a choice between two difficult outcomes. Alicia contemplates the choice of either surrendering her grandfather or begging Roseanne for mercy. Standing firmly at her desk, Alicia looks ahead with a mix of exhaustion and lingering worry. Alicia lets out a deep sigh, frustrated by the constant stream of problems plaguing her shop lately. Alicia clutches her head in frustration, worrying about Rena's pendant and future intruders. While Alicia considers searching temple grounds for more relics, a stranger suddenly announces his arrival. Alicia turns around with a look of pure alarm as she notices someone has entered the shop. The silver-haired man waves cheerfully, asking the stunned shopkeeper if she remembers him. Alicia lets out a loud, panicked scream as the unexpected visitor catches her completely off guard. The silver-haired man repeats his question, maintaining his friendly demeanor despite Alicia's clear shock. Alicia's face remains frozen in a comical expression of horror as she processes the man's presence. The silver-haired man looks slightly dejected, commenting on her mean-spirited reaction to his return. Alicia shouts at the intruder, demanding to know how a thief like him dares to return. Alicia grabs a small blue sphere and prepares to throw it, desperate to protect herself. Alicia recalls that the tool she just hurled was supposedly a defective product. A sharp bang sounds as the sphere explodes into a sturdy white net, ensnaring the man. The man falls to the floor, commenting on the incredibly fierce welcome he just received. Alicia is genuinely surprised that the supposedly broken magic tool actually worked as intended. Alicia cautiously approaches the trapped man, wondering if the net will actually hold him. The silver-haired man chuckles, assuring her the net is strong and he won't untie it. With a playful smile, the trapped man asks Alicia what her plan is, Graham. Alicia crosses her arms, demanding to know the reason behind the man's sudden return. The man explains he came to clear a misunderstanding and apologize for their poor first meeting. The man insists he isn't a thief and points toward his bag as proof of his innocence. Alicia reaches for the bag while the man suggests they talk more after he is untied. As Alicia rummages through the bag, the silver-haired man expresses curiosity about her appraisal skills. The man claims his curiosity is purely academic, just as Alicia pulls a snow globe from the bag. Elisha's fury ignites as she demands to know where he stole the holy relic snow globe.
The man defends himself, arguing that a real thief wouldn't openly show her his stolen goods.
Elisha questions his possession of the item, prompting the man to reveal he works with holy relics.
Elisha looks skeptical, asking if his work with holy relics means he is employed at the temple.
The man gives a vague, evasive answer, confirming it is something along those lines.
Elisha yells in disbelief, convinced the man is shamelessly lying about his latest theft.
The silver-haired man looks on in confusion as Elisha prepares to take the bag and its contents.
Elisha stares intensely, declaring her intention to return the stolen holy relic to its rightful owner.
The silver-haired man is stunned as Elisha clarifies she is taking the relic straight to the temple. Elisha commands him to stay put and wait for his punishment while she leaves with the bag. A sudden, sharp click sounds as Elisha locks the shop door from the outside, leaving him trapped.
The silver-haired man is left alone in the shop, uttering a confused sound at being abandoned.
The man reflects that Elisha's plan to go to the temple is actually a relief. The silver-haired man touches his chin, wondering how she could identify a holy relic so quickly. Narrative text explains that the snow globe was only recently determined to be a genuine holy relic. The man smiles knowingly, concluding that Elisha's incredible appraisal ability is certainly no coincidence. The man sighs, accepting that being mistaken for a thief is unavoidable given the temple's secret operation. Golden light emanates from the man as he reveals his secret identity as a cardinal of the temple. Rhythmic snapping sounds echo as the man uses magic to easily break the strands of the net.
The silver-haired man ignores the instruction to stay put and prepares to make his exit.
A soft creak sounds as the man opens the door, deciding he must return to the temple. Night falls over the grand imperial palace, which stands tall and illuminated under a starry sky. Ailen Hugo Roseanne walks through a grand, sunlit hallway as rhythmic, steady footsteps sound. A pair of massive and ornate blue double doors stands close at the end of the long corridor. The blonde knight commander pauses before the entrance to the princess's private imperial chambers. Rhythmic, sharp knocks sound as Ailen asks if the princess is inside, receiving a calm invitation. A soft creak sounds as Ailen enters the room, which is illuminated by a cold blue light. Roseanne sits at her table, questioning the commander about the sudden nature of his unexpected visit. Ailen informs Roseanne that her uncle was recently present, causing her to look away with deep thought. Roseanne mentions her uncle came searching for the pendant, her gaze falling with a weary, heavy sigh. A flashback shows the regent shouting, demanding to know where a specific item has been hidden. The red-haired man bellows that he is specifically looking for a pendant belonging to his own sister. Shaking uncontrollably in the memory, Roseanne hides her face under the shadow of a dark hood. Roseanne clenches her hand, insisting the jewelry is not his sister's but her own mother's pendant.
A sharp, angry scowl forms on the man's face as he reacts with fury to her defiance.
The regent commands his servants to search the entire room thoroughly to find the emerald pendant. Rhythmic, chaotic rustling sounds fill the room as the furniture is tossed aside by the maids. Maids frantically search through linens and drawers while Roseanne watches the destruction in pained silence. A close-up shows Roseanne's pained expression as she witnesses the violation of her personal quarters. The room lies in total disarray with a table overturned and objects scattered across the rug. The regent looms over the princess, barking one last demand for the location of the emerald pendant. Roseanne stares back with icy resolve, telling him he will never find what he is seeking. The man turns away, vowing to search the entire empire to ensure nothing stays hidden forever. In the present, Roseanne asks about Ailen's trip to Ashen Street, which he confirms was ordered. Ailen describes finding an old pawnshop and its surprisingly young owner during his mission for the regent. Roseanne questions why he's sharing this, but Ailen suggests the regent's target is at that shop. The princess's face turns pale with horror as she realizes the danger now surrounding Alicia's shop. A sudden, forceful jolt sounds as Roseanne stands, asking if Ailen will follow her uncle's orders. Roseanne reminds him of his sacred oath to protect and serve the true imperial family line. Ailen places a hand on his chest, reaffirming his ultimate devotion to the safety of the empire. Roseanne realizes that Ailen considers her uncle's words as the current law of the ruling regent. A sharp click sounds as Ailen prepares to make a formal knightly vow to the princess. Ailen kneels before Roseanne, swearing to protect her and her family until the end of his life. He admits it is difficult to protect the specific people and places she holds most dear. A soft rustle sounds as Ailen offers a final greeting and bids the princess to rest. Roseanne watches silently as the commander walks away, leaving her alone in the massive, quiet room. A sharp squeeze sounds as Roseanne clenches her hand, her eyes flashing with a new resolve. Looking at her dark cloak, Roseanne realizes she must take action to protect the hidden pendant. A soft slide sounds as she prepares her disguise, intending to leave the palace in secret.
Narrative text identifies the red-haired woman as Katerina Preslev, the imperial princess of the empire. The scene shifts to the grand cathedral standing tall and white under the bright morning sun. Alicia walks toward the temple, admiring how magnificent the holy grounds appeared during the day. Alicia wonders how the silver-haired thief managed to escape her locked shop without leaving a trace. A priest shows a golden bird to a crowd, identifying it as a newly unveiled relic. Murmurs fill the air as onlookers gather around to witness the display of the sacred object. A child admires the golden bird-shaped craft, noting how beautiful and sacred the item appears. Alicia looks on with skeptical eyes, doubting that such an ordinary craft could be a relic. A sharp, sudden gasp sounds as Alicia worries the temple might have been scammed by someone. Alicia approaches the priest, politely questioning if the bird-shaped craft is actually a genuine holy relic. With an inquisitive look, Alicia asks how the temple distinguishes between true relics and common fakes. The priest smiles kindly, admitting she is unaware of the specific institutional methods used for appraisal. The priest mentions that some people impiously forge relics, prompting Alicia to ask for more details. Narrative text explains that the temple imbues objects with holy power using concentrated holy water. The priestess explains that while such power is divine, it remains distinct from true relics. Alicia realizes the golden bird lacked its unique color because it only contained holy water. The priestess notes distinguishing the two requires long appraisals, and Alicia offers her polite thanks. With a gentle bow, the priestess offers a final blessing before walking away with the child. Rhythmic, steady footsteps sound as Alicia watches the group depart into the vast temple courtyard. Alicia doubts the temple would admit their mistake even if she identified the relic as fake. Alicia resolvedly declares that she cannot stand by while a fake relic is proudly displayed. Alicia decides to complete her original mission first before informing the temple about the fraudulent relic. A priest greets Alicia as she enters the cathedral, asking what brought her to the temple. Alicia stands before the priest in the massive hall, dwarfed by the grand sunlit architecture. Alicia asks the brown-haired priest about the specific procedure required for renting a holy relic. The priest lets out a low hum, looking thoughtful as he considers her unusual request. The priest asks if she is the child of a saint, which Alicia tentatively denies. Alicia realizes her mission is difficult because her grandfather never believed in the world tree. The priest informs Alicia that renting a holy relic is impossible without the proper qualifications. Alicia recalls another requirement and begins rummaging through her bag with a determined expression. The priest mentions merit as Alicia pulls the snow globe from her bag with a flourish. Alicia asks if returning a stolen relic would be sufficient merit to allow a rental. The priest recognizes the item as a temple relic and demands to know her source. The priest looks shocked, realizing the relic was still in the temple's possession just yesterday. A sharp, loud shout echoes as the priest calls for the temple guards to assemble. The priest commands the gods to seize Alicia, who reacts with wide-eyed shock and confusion. Alicia panics, realizing they believe she is a brazen thief returning her own stolen goods. Two hooded guards grab Alicia as she reflects that only the real thief could exonerate her. Rhythmic walking sounds approach as Alicia doubts the aggressive priest would ever listen to reason. A high-ranking official in ornate purple robes walks through the massive sunlit cathedral doors. Alicia wonders about the newcomer's identity as the hooded man asks about her vision. The guards and Alicia bow respectfully as the mysterious high-ranking official stands before them. A soft scratching sound echoes as the silent man writes a friendly greeting on his notepad. Alicia wonders if the high priest is under a vow of silence as she reads his note. The man writes an apology for the priest's rudeness and asks about the relic's return. Alicia explains that she recovered the relic from a thief while the man smiles knowingly. Alicia mentions her appraisal skills from the pawnshop while the man questions her methods on paper. A pair of intense green eyes stares from under the hood as the man continues writing. Alicia thinks that claiming superior observation skills would sound too arrogant to explain her unique ability. Alicia recalls a memory of her grandfather teaching her to trust her intuition during appraisals. Alicia's purple eyes sparkle with warmth as she reflects on the valuable lessons from her past. Alicia credits her grandfather's teachings, and the man notes her explanation with a silent, scribbled response. The high-ranking official turns the conversation back to Alicia's request to rent a holy relic. The man writes that her service is valued, and he will permit the relic rental. Alicia leans in close and whispers that the temple should reappraise their other displayed relics. The mysterious man smiles broadly under his hood, clearly amused by Alicia's secret, insightful advice. Alicia feels relieved, noting that the high-ranking priest seems to possess a surprisingly open mind. The brown-haired priest apologizes to Alicia for his discourtesy and his failure to investigate properly. The priest gestures toward another area, offering to guide Alicia through the relic rental process. A soft, rhythmic tapping sounds as a hand reaches out to touch Alicia's shoulder. The hooded man writes that he will send a representative to her workplace for personal assistance. Elisha looks puzzled as the man asks for a simple, non-burdensome welcome at her shop. Alicia smiles brightly, inviting the mysterious priest to come and visit her shop whenever he likes.
Alicia thinks that maintaining a positive relationship with the temple might help her purchase holy water at a lower price as she prepares to depart.
The green-eyed official offers a friendly wave from under his hood as he watches the girl leave.
A firm command is issued by the high official to have the bird-shaped crystal craft removed from display immediately.
Adjusting his hood to reveal messy silver hair, the man suggests that his helpful actions should be considered payment for her appraisal services.
With a gentle smile, the silver-haired man expresses his desire to cross paths with Elisha once again in the future. Rhythmic walking sounds follow Alicia as she exits the cathedral, clutching the documentation required for her holy relic rental. A sharp click sounds as Elisha opens a small box, confirming that despite its dim light, she has successfully obtained a genuine relic. A sense of wonder fills Alicia as her purple eyes sparkle, catching sight of a magnificent structure within the cathedral grounds.
Petals drift through the air as Alicia stands before a massive stone altar situated in the center of an open courtyard.
Alicia looks up at the grand structure with awe, questioning if she has truly found the sanctuary she was seeking.
Rhythmic steps echo as Elisha approaches the altar, reflecting on how her grandfather's lack of faith shaped her own beliefs.
Elisha clasps her hands in prayer, offering her gratitude to the world tree and promising to live a life of virtue.
With a somber expression, Alicia pleads for the divine power to grant her one modest, deeply personal request.
Alicia looks toward the bright sky, her thoughts turning toward her absent grandfather as a silent plea leaves her lips. Tears stream down Alicia's face as she begs the world tree to ensure that her grandfather never forgets her existence.
A brief interlude passes as the perspective shifts toward a new location within the heart of the empire.
The sun shines brilliantly over a sprawling, opulent white mansion surrounded by meticulously kept gardens and a grand fountain. Inside the manor, Michelle sits up in his bed, bathed in the morning light streaming through a large window.
A creaking sound follows as a maid enters the room, announcing that she has brought his daily medicine and the newspaper. Michelle acknowledges her presence but dismisses her, requesting that she simply leave the items on the tray and depart.
A soft tap sounds as the maid places the tray down, her expression showing a hint of hesitation and anxiety.
The maid apologizes but explains that she is strictly required to witness him consuming the medicine before she can leave the room.
Michelle laughs softly, remarking on his fading memory as a clever way to ease the tension of the situation.
Gulping sounds fill the quiet room as Michelle drinks the liquid under the watchful, nervous eye of the waiting maid. A sharp tap sounds as Michelle places the empty glass down, and the maid confirms that the task is finally finished.
With a hurried farewell, the maid dashes out of the room as if fleeing from a frightening and powerful presence.
Michelle chuckles to himself, noting that the staff's fear of him as a harsh figure makes his deception much easier.
Mikhail holds the glass for a moment longer, his expression turning serious as he prepares for his next secretive move.
Michelle reflects on his strategy to swap the cups, ensuring that his refusal to take the medicine remains undetected by the staff. A warm memory surfaces of Elisha smiling brightly while asking her grandfather to entrust her with a special imperial seal.
Rhythmic footsteps sound as Michelle walks through the room, vowing to do whatever is necessary to protect Elisha's pawnshop.
A creaking sound echoes as Michelle looks out the window, his resolve hardening despite his current physical weakness.
A splashing sound follows as Michelle pours the unwanted medicine into a nearby decorative plant pot to hide it.
A sharp tap sounds as Michelle leans against the window, reminding himself that Elisha must be the one to protect the shop.
Michelle watches the garden below, his thoughts shifting to the realization that Alicia must prioritize her own safety above everything.
Emma questions Elisha about the urgent midnight deadline for the guarantor paperwork they are currently discussing in the shop.
Shaking her head, Emma expresses relief that Elisha managed to discover the looming deadline before it was too late to act. Elisha asks if Emma has secured her own guarantor, which the green-haired woman confirms with a confident and quick nod. Emma shrugs proudly, mentioning that she is a rare type of mage who maintains strong and consistent ties with her family. Emma suddenly remembers to ask if Michelle will be visiting the pawnshop soon after his long absence from the city.
Alicia forced to smile, explaining that her grandfather is currently too far away to return in time for the deadline. Emma wonders what Elisha will do now, while the girl remains optimistic about finding another way to resolve the problem.
Emma asks if the girl is in need of another magical artifact to add to her shop's diverse inventory.
Holding up a sleek blue orb, Alicia asks the mage if she is aware that the item she provided is defective.
Emma reacts with genuine shock, declaring that the word defective has no place in her professional dictionary as a mage. Humming sounds fill the air as Emma channels her mana into the blue orb, causing it to glow with intense energy.
Alicia watches with a surprised expression as the artifact reacts to the mage's touch in a way she hadn't seen before.
Alicia complains about the orb's past failures, describing how it once did nothing and then allowed a captive to escape easily.
Emma hums thoughtfully as she examines the glowing artifact, looking for any signs of technical or magical flaws in its design.
Emma realizes that the orb's failures were not due to defects, but rather interference caused by a presence of holy power.
Alicia questions the source of holy power while Emma explains the orb feels saturated with it. Emma notes another strange detail as Alicia looks on with intense curiosity. Alicia reflects on her recent encounters with the mysterious official and the noble knight. Emma carefully examines the orb, sensing it contains a power it shouldn't possess. A group of people gathers in a grand hall as the atmosphere shifts. Alicia notices a swarm of knights arriving at the shop, signaling trouble. Exhaustion washes over Alicia as she sighs deeply, bracing for the coming confrontation. The dark-haired man enters the shop as Alicia wonders why the knights arrive so quickly. Alicia asks about his sudden arrival, noting she doesn't require any weapon maintenance yet. Rhythmic steps echo as the tattooed man approaches, clarifies he isn't there for a consultation. The man mentions the knight from before while glancing back toward the door. Alicia laughs off the description of the thug and questions the man's choice of words. The tattooed man reveals the knight's true identity, urging her to remain calm.
A sudden realization hits Alicia as she finally connects the pieces of the puzzle.
Alicia recalls the knight's previous pathetic behavior as the man listens with visible skepticism. The man confirms the knight's high rank as the commander, leaving Alicia completely stunned. Alicia's mind races with memories of news articles as she struggles with this shocking revelation. The man apologizes for the shock while Alicia reacts physically to the overwhelming news. A quick bow follows as Alicia expresses her gratitude for the man's helpful information. Alicia offers a polite, repetitive thanks as she attempts to process the knight's identity. The tattooed man asks why she hasn't requested help, reminding her of his standing offer. The mercenary reiterates his availability for security services while waiting for her response.
Alicia's eyes widen as she considers the implications of a commander targeting her shop.
Alicia politely declines the protection for now, choosing to handle the situation independently.
Alicia admits she isn't accustomed to relying on others while laughing off her stubbornness.
Alicia playfully mentions his high rates as a reason for her current hesitation.
The man encourages her to start practicing how to accept assistance starting today.
Rhythmic footsteps sound as the man steps aside, offering to wait until she needs him.
A warm smile returns to Alicia's face as the atmosphere momentarily lightens. A sharp creak sounds as a heavy boot steps onto the wooden floor of the shop. Ailen stands tall in his magnificent white and blue armor, projecting an aura of authority. Ailen presents an official document to the surprised girl, fulfilling a prior legal request. Alicia freezes in shock as she reads the name printed clearly on the search warrant.
Ailen bows respectfully while formally introducing himself as the commander of the Holy Knights.
Alicia recalls a grim newspaper headline detailing the tragic death of the very man before her.
A recruitment notice for translators appears during a brief pause in the narrative.
Memories of the article flood Alicia's mind, confirming the knight's impending fate. Panic grips Alicia as she realizes the knight is destined to die very soon. Ailen Hugo Radion's portrait serves as a somber reminder of his status and future. Narration describes the discovery of his body late at night following a brutal attack. The grim scene of the palace floor is shown, where a beast allegedly mauled him. Investigators find the scene suspiciously clean despite the violence of the commander's death. Sunlight glints off shards of broken glass scattered across the site of the tragedy. Reports of a massive explosion echo through the palace as knights begin their investigation. Officials find no traces of magic at the scene, deepening the mystery of the attack. The incident is ultimately dismissed as a fatal accident involving prohibited black magic. A title honors him as the most radiant sword before his sudden fall from grace. The once honored knight is shown collapsing as he becomes a source of imperial disgrace. A loud bang sounds as an official orders the immediate disbanding of the knights.
Silhouettes of the disgraced Holy Knights march away as their order is formally dissolved.
Alicia reflects on Marquis Crotal's suspicious behavior, suspecting that a hidden mastermind is manipulating the situation.
Ailen Hugo Radion formally requests to see the holy relic Alicia possesses for his official inspection. A sudden realization hits Alicia as she connects the commander's presence to the mystery of the shop. Alicia invites the knight to follow her into the back of the shop to view the item. Rhythmic steps echo as Alicia's pearl-decorated shoes lead the way across the wooden floor of the room. A sharp creak sounds as they enter a secure room filled with various potions and ancient artifacts. Alicia reaches for a small white box, prepared to reveal the requested holy relic to the waiting commander. Presenting the container, Alicia confirms she has the relic ready for the knight's final and thorough inspection.
Ailen Hugo Radian instructs Elisha to open the case, maintaining his professional and stoic demeanor during the investigation. Alicia observes that the knight avoids touching the relic directly, recalling the green-haired mage's previous magical warning.
Emma explains that the man is carrying something forbidden, which sparks Elisha's intense and growing curiosity.
Emma clarifies that individuals possessing holy power should not be emitting mana like the blonde-haired knight before them.
Emma theorizes that the man is suffering from mana intoxication due to forced exposure to compressed mana stones.
Emma visualizes the immense quantity of compressed mana stones required to cause such a severe and painful reaction.
Emma warns Elisha that whoever targeted the knight is incredibly vicious and strongly advises her against any involvement. A painful scream echoes in a dark vision as Emma describes the agony of mana intoxication and holy power.
Emma explains the knight's constant agony while Elisha describes his remarkably polite and stoic behavior toward her.
Emma reiterates that the knight's self-control is proof of his terrifying strength and lack of normal human limits.
Elisha feels deep pity for Ailen, hoping the inspection ends quickly so his silent suffering can finally stop.
Ailen Hugo Radian confirms his inspection is complete, offering a polite bow of gratitude for Elisha's cooperation.
Ailen moves to depart, his heavy boots sounding on the wood as Elisha watches his retreating figure closely.
Ailen stops suddenly, clutching his arm in pain as Elisha calls out to him in sudden, sharp alarm.
Alicia quickly apologizes for her sudden reaction, her face flushed with concern for the pained state of the commander.
Ailen Hugo Radian reflects that he originally intended to ignore her situation, regardless of any potential mana intoxication.
Alicia reads a letter detailing Marquise Crodell's role in the permit revisions, realizing he may be a pawn.
Elisha reasons that Marquise Crodell would have no logical reason to harm Ailen if they truly shared interests. Alicia determines that she must uncover how Ailen was exposed to mana to help her potential new ally.
Elisha asks if a more thorough check is needed, while Ailen Hugo Radian insists he is perfectly fine.
Ailen notes that her permit is authorized by the temple, further validating the pawnshop's legal standing and relic. Alicia asks if the knight is feeling unwell, noticing his pained expression, despite his insistence that he's fine. Ailen Hugo Radian dismisses her concerns, questioning how a holy knight like himself could possibly suffer from such exposure.
Alicia bluntly questions if the commander is currently suffering from the agonizing effects of mana intoxication.
Ailen Hugo Radian reacts with visible shock and confusion at her direct mention of such a specific secret condition.
Alicia recalls an old manuscript describing a priest who fell ill under very similar and suspicious circumstances recently.
Elisha explains how a hidden mana stone in a gift caused suffering, then asks if he received gifts. A memory surfaces of a man presenting a beautiful hourglass as a special gift for the knight's protection. The dark-haired official smiles, stating that the emperor personally selected the item for the knight commander's dedicated service.
Ailen's eyes widen as he realizes the potential source of his constant pain might be the emperor's gift.
Ailen Hugo Radian denies having anything specific in mind, shaking his head to dismiss the dark and traitorous thought. Ailen Hugo Radian refuses to believe the emperor would harm him, insisting there must be another valid reason. Ailen Hugo Radian changes the subject, asking if Elisha has secured a guarantor for her shop's midnight deadline today. Alicia admits with a sigh that finding a suitable guarantor has proven to be quite difficult for her.
Ailen Hugo Radian suggests they step outside while secretly reflecting on the heavy burden of Elisha's current situation.
A soft whoosh sounds as a faint glowing energy emanates from the commander's eyes as he struggles internally.
Ailen Hugo Radian mentions he knows someone who could help her, his pained expression momentarily softening with kindness.
Alicia's face lights up with hope and excitement as she eagerly asks if the commander is being serious. Rhythmic steps sound as Elisha follows him, asking what kind of person his high-ranking acquaintance might be.
Ailen Hugo Radian stops again, a pained expression crossing his face as he struggles against an overwhelming surge. A soft tap sounds as Ailen reaches out, his gloved hand resting briefly on Elisha's shoulder for support.
A massive boom echoes as a bright flash of energy knocks Elisha backward across the shop floor. A powerful whoosh sounds as a violent shockwave suddenly blasts Elisha backward through the air. Disoriented and airborne, a startled, "Huh?" escapes Alicia as she struggles to understand the sudden explosion. A quick pat sounds as the black-haired mercenary catches Alicia securely before she can hit the floor. Glaring at the knight, the mercenary sternly asks what exactly he thinks he is doing right now. Alicia's wide eyes search for answers, while a quick pat sounds as the mercenary holds her protectively.
The mercenary repeats his demand while privately wondering what exactly is the meaning of the shop's mess.
A pained stagger sounds as Ailen Hugo Radion clutches his head, his face contorted in visible agony.
Observing the tension, Elisha worries that at this rate, the two men are going to start fighting. Alicia quickly moves to stand, insisting that is not what is happening while calming the suspicious mercenary. The black-haired man remains unconvinced, demanding to know the exact meaning of the surrounding and chaotic mess. Alicia defends Ailen, explaining he didn't touch her and that he actually offered to find her help. A soft swish sounds as Elisha prepares to explain the situation while the mercenary remains visibly skeptical. Alicia jokingly claims she was trying a scam, but the mercenary dismisses it as a blatant lie. The mercenary asks why she's shielding him, wondering if she fell for the knight's supposedly sparkling nature. Alicia frantically denies falling for him, but the man remains unconvinced by her sudden and sharp defensive. The man asks if she truly trusts a knight met twice more than she actually trusts him. Flustered and anxious, Alicia clasps her hands together as she struggles to navigate the heavy atmosphere. A sharp clang sounds as Ailen draws his sword, formally ordering the mercenary not to threaten her. A soft tap sounds as the mercenary scoffs, noting that Ailen is the one currently making threats. A sharp creak sounds as the two men lock eyes in a dangerous and silent standoff. A red-haired woman enters, prompting Elisha to identify her as Rena while the stranger approaches. A soft swish sounds as Rena lowers her hood, revealing her striking face and vibrant green eyes. Rena addresses Ailen as Your Highness, questioning his presence while the shop's tension reaches a new peak.
Ailen explains his inspection while Alicia freezes in shock, repeating the title Your Highness in her mind.
Rhythmic steps sound as Rena approaches Alicia, her long red hair cascading down her black-cloaked shoulders. Rena admits she rushed out without money and promises to return with the fee another time. Rena reassures the stunned girl that she needn't worry about finding a guarantor for the shop anymore. Alicia realizes Rena is the helper, while the woman confirms Sir Ailen already informed her of everything. A soft swish sounds as Rena mysteriously promises that Elisha will find out more once night falls. Rhythmic steps sound as Rena and Ailen depart, their exit finally leaving the shop in relative peace. Alicia bids Rena goodbye, her face showing a mix of lingering surprise and a small sense of relief. A pained sway sounds as Alicia suddenly staggers, her physical exhaustion finally overwhelming her after the conflict. A soft thud sounds as the mercenary catches her, his voice low as he asks if she's okay. Elisha laughs weakly, admitting that she simply feels completely drained after the day's many and stressful events. The man insists her exhaustion isn't funny, while Elisha tiredly agrees that he's right about her condition. A slow blink sounds as Elisha struggles to stay awake, stating she'll only sleep for 30 minutes. A soft chuckle sounds as the mercenary asks if she plans to use him as an alarm clock. Leaning into him, Alicia softly mumbles the truth that she was actually a little scared earlier today. A slight flinch sounds as the mercenary's gloved hand rests gently on Elisha's shoulder for silent support.
A soft swish sounds as Elisha's eyes finally close, her body slumping as she falls deeply asleep.
Quiet z's sounds as Alicia sleeps peacefully at her desk, her long pink hair spread across the wood.
Standing over the girl, the black-haired mercenary whispers unbelievable as he watches her sleep so soundly. A thick, leather-bound ledger sits on the desk, its gold-patterned cover glowing in the fading shop light. A soft swish sounds as the mercenary reaches for the book, noting it's the perfect chance to check. The man resolves to leave once he finds a trace of Ivor within the shop's official ledger. A rhythmic flip sounds as the mercenary quickly searches through the pages for the information he seeks. A tired pew sounds as the man closes the book, his search apparently yielding no results tonight. The man reflects on his strange lack of feeling, admitting he perhaps already knew of her true innocence. A soft breath sounds as narration confirms she is truly innocent while Elisha sleeps among beautiful flowers. A soft rustle sounds as Elisha stirs slightly in her deep sleep, her hand moving against the ledger. A rhythmic flip sounds as the black-haired mercenary quickly searches through the pawnshop's official ledger. Alicia remains fast asleep at her desk, her long pink hair spilling across the closed book. A soft gasp sounds as the man suddenly flinches, his eyes widening in total shock. A soft glint catches his eye as he notices a strange reaction from his own equipment. Bright flashes pulse from the red gem on his cuff, signaling a powerful magical resonance nearby. Stunned, he realizes the artifact's reaction is undeniable proof that Ivor was recently in the shop. He concludes that Ivor must have visited, despite the lack of a record in the ledger. Narration suggests Elisha's grandfather was the one truly responsible for the shop's hidden and mysterious activity. The scene shifts to the county of Raum, where a grand mansion stands under the moonlight. Roseanne yells about a failed forest search while a man attempts to pacify her growing anger. The purple-haired woman continues her outburst as the man is identified as her husband, Nicholas Raum. Roseanne remains convinced that he overlooked something critical during his recent and thorough investigation. She confronts Nicholas about the replica he painted, questioning if he intentionally omitted any specific details.
Gripping him forcefully, she asks if he erased any elements he deemed unimportant to their plan.
A loud thud sounds as Roseanne kicks Nicholas to the ground, rejecting his tearful, desperate pleas.
Looking down with pure contempt, the purple-haired woman orders her husband to get out immediately.
A quick patter of steps sounds as the terrified Nicholas flees the room without saying another word.
Roseanne reflects on the pawnshop's closing, satisfied that Elisha failed to secure a valid guarantor today.
A quick patter sounds as an official rushes into the room shouting about an urgent development.
Roseanne asks what happened while the man mentions the pawnshop managed by her husband's uncle.
He reveals they found a guarantor and renewed the permit, causing Roseanne's expression to darken.
Roseanne stands in shock as he adds that someone guaranteed the entire street's commercial licenses. She demands to know who could possibly afford to make such a massive and unexpected move.
The official reveals that Princess Katerina Presliff is the one protecting the shop in the street.
The scene shifts several hours earlier to the palace, shortly before the official licensing deadline.
A red-haired regent asks for a status report on the Ashen Street business license renewals.
He orders that any shop failing to renew today must remain closed for business tomorrow morning. Katerina asks for a confirmation that a shop can renew as long as they have a guarantor.
The regent agrees while privately wondering why the princess insisted on attending this official council meeting. The princess prepares to deliver her declaration, her face set in a look of quiet determination.
Katerina formally announces she will act as the guarantor for the entire street under her name.
A loud boom sounds as the regent slams his hand down, accusing her of playing games.
Katerina sharply corrects him, stating that he is the one behaving poorly in a public setting.
She demands he show proper respect by using her official title, Princess Katerina, during the meeting.
The morning sun bathes the pawnshop in a warm glow as a new day finally begins. A soft creak sounds as a green-haired girl bursts inside, calling out to Elisha excitedly.
She delivers the miraculous news that Princess Katerina has agreed to guarantee all of Ashen Street.
Leaning on the counter, the girl asks Elisha if she feels a great sense of relief.
Elisha smiles, realizing this was the help Rena mentioned would become clear later that night.
The girl wonders about the princess's true motive, while Elisha remains quiet and deeply thoughtful.
Elisha privately wonders if the princess's generous action was done specifically to help her shop.
A soft clap sounds as the green-haired girl shifts the conversation to a different matter. She reminds Elisha of her previous request to track down a specific and elusive mage. The girl shares that a friend recognized the magic formula, bringing a look of relief. Elisha admits she was deeply concerned they would never find a lead on the mysterious individual. A soft ding sounds as the shop door opens, signaling the arrival of a new customer.
Waving goodbye, the green-haired girl departs, promising to return soon with more news for Elisha.
The girl walks down the street, reflecting on the many exciting events of the past day. She pauses for a moment, her gaze turning thoughtful as she considers Elisha's intense focus. Blushing, she wonders if Elisha's interest in the mage might be more than just professional curiosity. Close up on Elisha's face, she is stunned as a new realization suddenly hits her.
Elisha looks up in pure amazement upon learning that the mysterious mage is actually a girl.
A quiet sounds as Elisha lowers her head, processing this unexpected and significant information.
Elisha reflects on her own preconceptions, admitting that she was being a far too narrow-minded mage.
A pleasant ding sounds as Elisha bids her customers farewell, wishing them a very good day. Elisha looks up thoughtfully, wishing she had managed to locate that elusive mage before this moment. Elisha prepares to leave, noting that the mage's testimony is the key to proving Roseanne's crimes.
Elisha remains determined, resolving that even without the mage, she can find others exploited by Roseanne. Reaching out to the shop sign, Elisha warns that she will protect her people from harm.
A soft creak sounds as Elisha exits, vowing to take Roseanne's people hostage as a retaliation. Moonlight washes over the grand raw mansion, which stands silent and imposing under the night sky. The scene shifts to a smaller, solitary house nestled among the trees in the cool moonlight. A rhythmic scratch sounds inside a messy studio where numerous unfinished canvases lean against the walls. Nicholas Rahm sighs over his palette, lamenting that he must finish a replica by next week. Looking at the stacks of work, Nicholas realizes with dread that several more paintings are due soon. A sharp halt sounds as Nicholas's hand freezes mid-stroke, his energy completely drained by the task. A soft thud sounds as the paintbrush slips from his fingers and lands on the carpet. Nicholas clutches his head in exhaustion, desperately trying to focus to avoid Roseanne's inevitable and terrifying fury. Overwhelmed by despair, the brown-haired man laments that he no longer finds any joy in his painting. A soft voice breaks the silence, warmly complimenting his work as a truly wonderful piece of art.
Startled by the sudden voice, Nicholas peeks through his fingers with an expression of pure shock. Nicholas jumps in his seat and asks who is there as Alicia appears behind him.
Alicia smiles brightly, apologizing for her intrusion and praising the sheer beauty of his artistic creation. Bewildered, Nicholas wonders if she is a ghost or if he is simply hallucinating from his exhaustion. Nicholas looks away sadly, dejectedly pointing out that the canvas on his easel is merely a replica. Alicia corrects him, pointing toward a different work and specifying she meant the painting on the plate. A beautiful landscape of a waterfall is visible, painted with care onto a small, round, decorative plate. Tears well up in Nicholas's eyes as he stares at the piece he once created with passion. Nicholas begins to cry, remembering that he was actually happy when he was painting that specific piece.
The man breaks down completely while Alicia stands quietly by his side, offering her silent, patient support.
Wiping his face, Nicholas apologizes to the young woman for showing such a vulnerable side of himself.
Alicia addresses him as Lord Nicholas, thanking him for the opportunity to view such wonderful and artistic work.
Stunned that she knows his identity, Nicholas realizes she is neither a ghost nor a mental hallucination.
Alicia mentions her grandfather, prompting Nicholas to ask for more clarification about who she is referring to. A soft rustle sounds as Alicia introduces herself by name, offering a polite greeting to the painter.
A soft swish sounds as Alicia presents a letter stating Duke Mikhail Piochadat Lionet Center.
Nicholas takes the document, realizing it contains the official list of items left in the Duke's will. Nicholas Raum stares at the papers as narration identifies him and focuses on his tragic past life. Flashbacks reveal how Roseanne exploited him, using his marriage to polish her image while forcing him into forgery. A rhythmic trot sounds as a carriage departs, while narration confirms that Roseanne never truly loved Nicholas. A cruel smirk spreads across Roseanne's face as her cold and manipulative nature is briefly shown.
A loud splash sounds in the past as narration reveals Roseanne eventually had Lord Raum murdered. Alicia reflects on how his death was trivialized in the newspapers due to Roseanne's immense social influence. Alicia looks at a newspaper, noting that his true talent only gained popularity after his tragic death.
Nicholas looks up from the papers, confused as to why the Duke would be searching for him. Alicia explains that the Duke actually wants to invest in his incredible and long-suppressed artistic talent.
Stunned, Nicholas asks if the investment is truly for him, while Alicia confirms it with a nod.
Alicia looks at his work, clarifying that the investment is not for his forced replicas. Alicia stands before the waterfall painting, declaring they want to invest in his real and original artwork. The scene fades as Alicia finishes her explanation, the atmosphere turning toward a new and hopeful path.